This tale kicks off by hurling us into a long, collapsing stone dungeon corridor. Deep in the shadows, three skeletons huddle together like they're running an ominous little meeting. A skeleton strides up with huge confidence and declares, "It's time for the Labyrinth unveiling ceremony," like the whole world is about to witness something legendary. Then bursting through a blinding opening, a mysterious hooded figure storms into the scene like they own the night. This lead skeleton, plus the smart one named Lionel, starts grilling the plan to open this dungeon right here. His master plan sprawls across a genius stick figure diagram. Then the adventurers roll in. Boom! They get caught, and we walk out with the cash. That new kid, freshly crowned the dungeon master, fully believes he's got flawless logic, no cracks, no doubts. With a sharp flick of his hand, he shoos his skeletal minions away, then steps right back into action. Showtime, boys! All alone in the dungeon, the demonstration pauses, feeling the crushing weight of his grand scheme lock into place. His mind snaps to the control room, where he checks on his bony security guard like he expects trouble to break in any second. Turns out, our guy was Japanese in a past life, and now he's a dungeon master, clutching hazy memories he can't quite unlock. Right now, he's out there scouting the area, eyes locked on the road, measuring the gap to the carriage coming in. Now the pressure's crushing him, and he can't stop replaying the brutal road that brought him here. This road got so brutal that he ended up starving to the brink. Then he invented magic just to shut his hunger up and survive the worst of it. But his dungeon didn't just grow, it exploded outward, smashing straight through the whole mountain like it was nothing. He admits he only pulled the chatty Lionel into his life because loneliness wouldn't quit, and he's secretly grateful the others are the quiet, silent kind with. With his target right there, he clenched his fist, steadied his nerves, and braced for whatever came next. And his. Then the truth hits. His big motivation is simple. He just wants to talk to people and finally eat real food. The skeleton lackey blurts, "Did you say something?" And the DM fires back like, "No, just tell me why you're acting dumb." This dungeon master just slumps with a heavy sigh, completely worn out by his own staff. With a bone-chilling shout, the dungeon master yanks his bony minions into motion, sending them scrambling into position. His skeleton crew instantly pulls the wrong string, and a massive rock slide crashes down, sealing the path ahead. A massive boulder slams down and smashes the road shut, like the world just slammed a final lock in place. Then he and his crew scramble into their ambush positions, effortless as if they're gliding into danger. Turns out he's using ambush magic. He can literally vanish inside a wall and sneak in with peak stealth. Hiding in the shadows, he leaned out just enough to spot the carriage closing in. Meanwhile, his security crew just sits there, clenching tight, rattling with tension, locked in so hard they're basically ready to spring, like the next moment could explode. One of them even leans out from behind and flashes a friendly wave like a total pro, decked out in full uniform while he keeps running. Man, he's already regretting it. Handing Lionel the reins was a mistake, because he can't make sense of a single thing. From where he stands, he spots the carriage finally slam to a stop, right on cue. A whole crew of adventurers spills outside, totally stunned by that suspiciously timed rock slide that blocks their way. A disguised warrior closes in on him, eyeing him like a target, and asks straight up if he spotted a dungeon entrance nearby. Right on schedule, a shady crack splits the rock face, and a cold little glint flashes from inside. This ponytailed member of the party suddenly freezes. Her instincts scream that something's wrong. When they press her about it, she just waves it off like it's nothing, mumbling that it's probably not even important. Our dungeon master was still fused to the wall, drenched in sweat, desperately trying to rein in his panic. He's deathly terrified someone will catch him and brand him a creepy dungeon master, that ultimate insult. But then his panic snaps into wild excitement the second he realizes they're totally taking the bait. From the dungeon's shadowed depths, it's clear. These adventurers are marching straight into the trap, and at last, it's about to spring. Everyone at the party gapes at the entrance, because this isn't a normal stop at all. It's a brand new dungeon they just stumbled into. The party's mage and her companion are inside right now, snapping judgment on the dungeon-like vibe he's been busting his butt to build. And right down the hall, boom, he's got the first huge surprise ready for them, freshly cooked. A circular chamber stretches out, packed floor to ceiling with coffins, each one clamped around a skeleton that brandishes a brand new stone sword. From his hidden perch, the dungeon master stares as their icons close in on the trigger point, grinning so hard he can barely hold back his excitement. Is Boy absolutely going feral with excitement as his skeleton minion whines that it's being left in the dust? The skeleton shoots him a vicious side-eye, and the dungeon master just looms there with arms crossed, sulking like he's been personally offended. His minions are casually trading gossip, shocked he's moving at a snail's pace, and even more stunned that he can actually cast magic at all. It all builds up until he snaps at Lionel for the plain layout, and Lionel just stays cool, saying it should have taken him an hour anyway. Suddenly, they're both laughing it off, nodding along like, yeah, he better get a move on, because this is real pro energy they need right now. And just like that, the good mood crashes. He snaps at Lionel and screams that there's absolutely no time for jokes. He steadies his breath for a second, then realizes the adventurers are right nearby, so he shuts his voice down and stays deadly quiet. But it's already over. Those first skeletons got wiped out clean, and the party's long gone. Outside, the carriage already lurches away, while the adventurers dig through everything and come up with nothing but emptiness. He got left to stare at the wreckage, and the shock hit his brilliant stone equipment idea turned out to be an absolute disaster. Then it all snaps into place. When the adventurers said they expected it, they meant the skeletons were ridiculously weak. So his grand scheme to score some food fell apart completely, leaving him to sacrifice his bony boys for nothing. Lionel rushes in to calm his sobbing boss, who's falling apart inside, screaming at how unfair and frustrating everything is, but his skeleton lackey just shrugs and says, "Yeah, you're dead already." Like that's the best comfort he can offer. Then he breaks it down. Destroyed just means the magic's drained like a phone battery, so they need a recharge and they'll be fine. And here comes brand new info that leaves our dungeon master staring in total shock, like the floor just vanished under him. He just flicks a little magic, zap, and boom, the skeletons spring back upright, fully healed and ready to move. Lionel proudly introduces the boss for the post-failure debriefing, and the other two just freeze, staring like they've lost the will to speak. Our boy is sweating buckets, totally blanking on what to tell his undead employees. He stammers out an apology and vows he'll do better, but the skeletons just stare back, completely blown away by the whole pep talk. The very next day, he's back on the construction site, gearing up to unleash his spatial refinement magic on a wall, starting right where he left off. With a flick of his hand, he starts cutting the mountain apart, piece by piece, literally deleting sections of it to grow his dungeon. A sudden cave-in crashes down on him, almost ending everything, and it hits him hard. Construction isn't just hard, it's deadly. But with a snap of a spatial restoration spell, he slams the undo button on the entire disaster. Fixed, no questions asked. He realizes he can just repeat the whole digging routine, then immediately panics. What if he accidentally builds himself an indoor well? After digging around, he picks his spot on the floor, plants his feet, and starts carving a fresh spell, Flatten Ground. With a shuddering scrape, his hand hits the rough ground, and his magic instantly smooths it into a solid, flawless floor. Intense focus snaps across his face, and you can practically see a brand new, probably awful, idea forming in his head. Then he kicks off a paving frenzy, burning 1 megapixel per tile to smooth every inch of that corridor. This whole construction binge is powered by one brutal truth. His grand opening bombed so hard, he walked away with 0 food. In a blink of clarity, it hits him. He never once stopped to wonder how those weak little skeletons felt, getting chewed up as cannon fodder. After all that time by himself, he starts to worry he's forgotten what it means to be human, and even reaches out to the mysterious Ko-chan for advice. And there he goes, spiraling out of control, screaming that this is the bare minimum just to keep functioning as a dungeon master. Wait, scratch that. He's not just some dungeon master. He's an intermediate one. And yeah, that matters. Ever since he stumbled into this world, Kao-chan has been hearing a woman's voice, inside his own head, like it's been there the whole time. That shadowy voice was the one who taught him Labyrinth magic, way back when he apparently couldn't even afford pants. Before he even got his pants on, he cranked his magic cost down to a single 1 MP per cubic meter. And he's still blown away that Kyo-chan's system actually adapted to his Japanese sense of measurement. It made him feel pretty awful for brushing off that mysterious voice in his head all this time. So now he's stuck wondering, was that bond pure fate, or just some every DM does this feature baked into the dungeon? Lionel barges in totally clueless, and the DM quietly realizes Ko-chan only ever shows up when it's Lionel, and his skeleton is completely losing it because he somehow managed to pave the whole area. But the Dungeon Master shrugs it off and reveals it's his way of surviving the grand opening disaster. Then he swept Lionel away on the double, barking at him to head back for a little while. Climbing a brand new set of stairs, he decides it's finally time to size up exactly what his magic can do. He split his powers into dungeon-building traps and personal buffs, with over 1 million MP he could burn without breaking a sweat. And that's not all. His summoning magic doesn't stop at skeletons. He can summon goblins, too. But the second the idea pops up, he shuts it down hard, refusing to treat living beings like disposable trash. Instead, he yanked his gaze back from that bony crew, doubling down on his choice to stay undead, until they're rattling grates on him until he snaps. He screams at them, then zips away at full speed, leaving his skeletons utterly baffled as the stickman version of their boss simply disappears into thin air. He bursts out through a hidden exit straight into the woods, finally fired up to figure out his next move. He sat down fast and realized, damn it, he'd better cook up a brand new spell for that brutal 5-day trek to civilization. He slips into a quiet pocket by the cliff, and instant calm floods through him like a wave. They finally spill it. He woke up 6 months ago right here beside a dead body, and that's where he snatched the robes he still wears. While that map makes it clear this tiny hideout is linked to his main dungeon through a cramped little passage. Our boy's up here monologuing about his glow-up, starting from a pathetic 10 megapixels and grinding his way to where he is right now. He can practically feel how close the outside world is, but Kao-chan's voice crashes in, delivering a brutal reality check. A brutal invisible wall yanks him backward out of nowhere, and it totally catches him off guard. This magical barrier thrashes and ripples as he crashes face first into the dungeon wall, and he devours it on the spot, then smacks the ground hard right outside the passage. Lying there, writhing in pain, Kyo-chan's voice hits him with the hard truth. Dungeon masters are literally shackled to their dungeons. He's annoyed, mumbling that he already knows the rules, no need for that condescending lecture. Now he just broods in silence, stuck in his head, trying to figure out what his real purpose even is in this world as the dungeon master. His whole grand plan was simple: get some real, decent food in his belly, and finally sit down with actual people. And yeah, his endgame is simple: get close to a cute girl, because he's a total man of culture. He leans over his freshly paved hall, eyes blazing, and vows that if the grand opening flops, he'll forge a far better dungeon. Now he runs his dungeon like a tech startup, chasing product market fit by tuning his adventurers like a launch team. His new business plan flips the blame. You don't get to blame the users because they'll always conjure some totally unexpected way to wreck things. It rips open some brutal PTSD from his past life, like he's staring at people who macro-click a button 1,000 times every second. So he jumps straight into crafting a user persona, a scorching, swaggering, probably horn-dog adventurer, right around 20 years old. But this persona has zero loyalty to anyone. He's only driven by chasing girls, and it absolutely disgusts our boy. To reel in a guy like this, he has to chart the perfect user story, one that hands him a clean shot at clearing the dungeon. His dungeon isn't some finished product. It demands constant watching, constant tweaking, until the design finally hits perfection. Now his mission is simple: keep the experience updated non-stop, and lucky for him, MP just recharges every time he catches some sleep. Right as he's sliding into that perfect corporate self-help rhythm, something suddenly hooks his attention. He keeps trying to mash his past life corporate jargon into this world, but every word falls flat like it doesn't belong here. Then he just shrugs it off, telling himself the memories will crawl back soon enough. No big deal. Out of nowhere, he's suddenly fired up to fix the dungeon UX, even as his brain screams, "What the hell is UX in the first place?" And right on the spot, he answers himself, saying it's all about the user experience. Pure, true visionary energy. Then his lecture drops dead, cutting straight to his skeleton crew locked in a super sophisticated debate: restaurant service or pure food quality. And it turns out he isn't just ranting, he's laying it all out to a mysterious elf girl who literally materialized out of nowhere. He's laying out this restaurant analogy in full swing when it finally clicks. Wait, who is he even talking to? One lone eye snaps wide as pure, unfiltered terror hits. Oh no, this is really happening. He's been droning on for ages to this random, super cute elf girl, and somehow she's hooked on every word of his rambling. She leans in like it's nothing, brushes off his weirdness, and tells him to keep going, right now. In the blink of an eye, a blinding flash tears reality open, and something so bizarre it shouldn't exist shows up. She suddenly splits into two perfect copies, grinning as she casually asks if he's seen a goddess hanging around here. Our boy's brain totally faceplants, short-circuiting at how ridiculously cute her voice is. And as she asks about the diner he was ranting about, he's already mentally gone, checking out before the sentence even ends. He hits the emergency evacuation and full-on yeets himself out, yelling that this can't be happening. He tore away, leaving the girl frozen, staring at the empty spot where he'd been, probably trying to figure out what the heck just happened. He teleports away, still panicking over how cute she was, realizing his spell lets him straight up bail from any social mess. This all detonates into a full-on meltdown about why he can't talk to girls until he's left with only his skeleton crew. And from far away, he's cringing hard, 100% sure he totally came off like a creep. Peeking around the corner, he wrings his hands and panics that she's finally gone. His heart is still jackhammering in his chest. Meanwhile, the elf girl is just straightening her outfit, totally stunned by his sudden dash, and then she blurts out, "Ah!" And the closer you look, the more you realize she's not amused. His frantic scramble to run is straight up crushing her. She kept wrestling with her top like it just wouldn't cooperate, but in the back of her mind she was definitely asking, so what's his deal? Right before she even sighs, she yanks her cloak back into place and braces herself to bolt out the door. Then she launches into the woods at full speed, and in seconds she's gone, swallowed by the trees. We let our boy finally inch out of his hiding spot, eyes locked on the street, and confirm that the coast is totally clear. For a full 30 seconds, he just stared, completely stunned by her beauty. Zero hidden agenda, not a single thought. Which instantly flips into panic once he realizes he could get hit with serious trouble just for peeping. In a panic, he catches his own feet and slams face first to the ground. The moment he slams onto the ground, reality punches him again. Turns out, he can't even escape the dungeon. 10 long days drag by, and it gives him just enough time to spiral in his own awkward mess and stew there in silence. Now he's curled up in a carved-out nook, replaying his 200 days in this world, and pushing through the way he's changed to survive. A dark look snaps across his face as he realizes he's gone hungry and silent, and still hasn't even spoken to a single soul. With Lionel backing him up, his skeleton army has exploded to 500 strong, burning through 500,000 MP every single day. But now he's boxed in by his undead army, and the whole place is getting dangerously packed. And now he's clocking the truth. Each skeleton has its own personality, like they're still carrying the memories of when they were totally different living species. And to stop another disaster before it starts, he's working non-stop to fix every broken part. That hits him. He's never once asked Lionel this before. How in the world are they supposed to talk to each other at all? Lionel just shrugs like, isn't it obvious? And that line alone sends our guy into a loud grumble about convenient magic systems, but But Labyrinth magic never warned him that he might actually start chatting with a real-life goddess. Though yeah, he's pretty sure that's exactly who he just met. Lionel blurted, "Are your boss's robes magic?" And the MC leaned in and said, "Nah, it's telepathy in the fabric, so we can talk." And his own skeleton gets shattered to pieces, just stunned by how impossibly huge his master's power is. Pointing out that no regular summoner could possibly keep this horde of skeletons under control all at once. Turns out, a normal necromancer would straight up drop dead just trying to raise one single skeleton, and that shocks our boy. Then he starts sweating like, wait, do dungeon masters actually have insane MP? Because he's sitting there with only 10,000, and that number feels like a total, massive lie. Lionel boasts that summoning 500 skeletons proves just how twisted he is, and the DM quietly smirks, because he could pull off 4 times that. With all that raw power at his fingertips, Lionel leans in and demands the grand plan, and the DM practically can't wait to lay it all out. His wild, brilliant plan is the Dungeon Ux Improvement Project, because of course it is, and it all started when he stared hard at his own magic, hit a breakthrough, and unlocked a brand new skill, Craft Spirit, which lets him dive into metalworking and craft real gear, even at an intermediate level. And that spell lets him mash materials together and coat them in magic, basically forging up a brand new life as a magical blacksmith. He's been cranking non-stop, mass-producing traps, pumping out automatic doors, and even forging a magical smartwatch that tracks his MP. Even apologizing to Kachan, because with this watch, he no longer has to go begging her for his MP count. Kachan shuts him out with a cold silence, and he scrambles awkwardly to answer Lionel's questions about the army. Lionel points out, sure, this dungeon's crawling with traps, but trust me, every single one is totally harmless. Our boy smirks and shoots back. He's got exactly 12,000 harmless traps. And yeah, you're welcome. Lionel's completely thrown, but the DM won't budge, insists this chaos is just the grand welcome for new adventurers. He's still dead set on reaching out to people, refusing to quit and staying locked onto his dream of never being a hermit. His goals were simple as they come: make friends, finally taste real food, and maybe, just maybe, visit a town for once. Then Lionel blurts out of nowhere, that he wants to get with a girl too, messing up the whole room and leaving his boss absolutely stunned. This dungeon master is so rattled by Lionel's comment that he practically snaps, telling Lionel to quit acting so casually. Then he blurts out that he's already devoted to a goddess, the elf girl he just met like 5 seconds ago. Lionel then leans in and asks, why not just summon a giant, unstoppable monster with a dragon doodle to prove your point? But our boy snaps into seriousness and tells everyone straight up he can't stomach real casualties from his dungeon. That's why he's going all in on traps, because deadly monsters aren't the play anymore. And with a sketchy little doodle as his plan, he's set on using teleportation traps to yeet adventurers, then dump them safely outside. He figures he can't just stroll back to the cave where he met the goddess. He needs top speed, and the price is a brutal 100 million MP. Lionel is still totally lost, because all he's heard isn't a glorious opening, it's just an insane stack of traps. Our boy shrugs it off, calls it too complicated, tells them to just open the dungeon, then they'll ship it, fix it later, and pray to every god they run into. So he dives into action in his brand new command center, herding 10 skeleton captains together for a briefing. A handy map points out that this command room is buried deep inside the mountain, hidden away from the public entrance. From here on out, he's got a master map that keeps tabs on traps, skeletons, and every intruder in real time. He's got monitors blazing with every dungeon caper, trap activations, damage reports, and even the MP burn rate. Lionel nervously asks the boss, is this place really set to open for good? And it's clear he's not whining. He's just worried. The dungeon master's tiny doodle flashes a grin. This new plan is forged from the lessons of his last jaw-dropping disaster. And Lionel is all in, praising it as the brilliant final act of his master's ideas, proof of a truly conscious design. The dungeon master just drops his name, and Lionel instantly shoots back, locked in and ready for whatever orders come next. Then he snaps, leans in close, and fires the question. Does Lionel really think this massive plan is something he can pull off with zero effort? He explodes into a fierce rant, swearing he poured his whole heart into this dungeon and demanding the users feel every drop. Still catching his breath, he asks if any upcoming holidays could draw more visitors, yet his skeleton is totally clueless. Lionel tells them to spill the truth the moment a carriage rolls by, while the DM kicks back in his brand new gaming chair like nothing's happening. But his skeleton buddy's giving him a worried look, like, "Are you sure about this?" A full-on strategy, and it's got him uneasy. Then Lionel snaps out of his ultimate chill mode, yells at his boss to look right now, cutting through the calm in his command channel. On the master map, one of the 5 fresh surveillance floors blazes to life, and the skeleton sensors snap to orange. Our boy's face hardens instantly. Orange means danger, and he wastes no time telling Lionel, "We're moving out." They sprinted to a lookout point hacked straight out of the rock, craning their necks to catch whatever just set off the alarm. And as he peeks out, boom! He's instantly slammed by the chaos of a full-on battle raging just outside. A vicious slaughter unfolds. Bandits rampage through the soldiers until just one poor survivor is left standing. From his lookout, he watches bandits slam into a carriage, and the whole scene erupts in a brutal massacre below. One bandit erupts in a crazed laugh, jabbing his finger toward an iron cage sitting in the back of the wagon, while our boy leans in to inspect the fallen soldier, he realizes the uniform screams official troops. Lionel flashes a cheerful salute and blurts that the bandits won, while the MC just stares ahead, totally unbothered. He calmly studies the odds, 5 soldiers against 20 bandits, and can't shake the question of why he feels so cold and detached from all this bloodshed. It's messed up because in his past life, he clearly remembers being just a regular guy from Japan. Then it hits him. Some system rule flashes in his mind, and he realizes dungeon masters just don't care what happens to outsiders. So he leans in and asks Lionel if those guys are the regular soldiers, and his second-in-command nods and confirms they look exactly like the real deal. Ko-chan pipes up, saying she's never seen that uniform before, and yeah, her knowledge isn't flawless, so she admits she's got gaps in what she knows, and is. Then his focus snaps back to the iron cage on the wagon, and dread crawls in as he grimly wonders, are they really hauling slaves? Lionel calls it like it is. Attacking the official troops is basically suicide, unless the local lord is a complete softie. Meanwhile, the bandit leader grins beside the cage, teasing that this was no random move. There's a far bigger plan waiting, and they took this risk for a reason. The bandit boss snarls and yanks a tiny horned child from the cage by a chain, screaming that they're a demon. And when you get a closer look, you realize that kid is a rare demon type, and that means someone out there is paying an insane amount of money for them. Lionel breaks it down for them. They're a hot commodity on the slave market because they're humanoid, so But our boy's face drops to stone, and he mutters that being a kid should mean nothing right now, leaving Lionel utterly dumbfounded by his boss's sudden burst of intensity. This dungeon master grapples with his own rules, grimly realizing that this world has no human rights groups to run to. When Lionel asks if he's serious about jumping in, he nods and commits, no hesitation at all. His toddler buddy tries to talk him out of it, insisting the bandits are human and the kids are demons, but the MC refuses to listen, and Lionel warns that this will likely mean murdering the bandits. Then he just smiles and says he knows. Yeah, this will totally wreck his grand dungeon opening, and he already swallowed that truth. As the bandits kick the kid around, he clenches his jaw and reminds himself, he's the dungeon master, and he's meant to stay cold. But the second he stands up, he straight up tosses that rule aside and announces he's got his own policy. His one rule is simple. He refuses to forge his dungeon's name by dragging other people into pain. And now he's slamming a new rule into that policy. If a kid's in trouble, you help them. No debates. He whips around and barks at Lionel to back off, because using different species as a shield for cruelty is pure trash. Lionel's eyes blaze as he instantly snaps to attention. He's all in, no questions asked. Right when the heroic vibe hits, it all collapses, because he realizes, with a sick drop in his gut, that this means he's got to go talk to people again. Lionel catches his breath, thinking, "This is the 6th time my master has summoned a skull troll, and he can't help wondering how this one's going to blow up." Lionel swings into a little practice dance, grinning as he introduces himself, an intelligent, talking skeleton, and our boy straight up snaps into battle mode, rehearsing his huge Dungeon Master entrance like a charm-strapped pro with perfect social grace. Lionel just stares at his boss, totally convinced this Dungeon Master has flipped into some seriously weird mode. And then he snaps, "Don't talk to me for 3 minutes!" Like that's the most normal way ever to start a conversation. Then he rants that if he raises even more skeletons, Lionel will be stuck babysitting them, and that's exactly the whole point. It all spirals fast. He's suddenly on his knees, begging Lionel not to shut him out, and that 3-minute rule lasts about as long as a blink. Meanwhile, Lionel can't stop scratching his head, like, why am I so easy to summon? And he's convinced it all traces back to his past life. A quick flashback hits, showing he was a real warrior, and suddenly his leadership skills make perfect sense. And just like that, the quick little pause is gone, our kid is grinning again, sprinting through the field with his bony crew right on his heels. But then his tone snaps like a blade. New order, stone cold and ruthless. Hunt the bandits and bring that child back. Lionel demands, "Are you really for real?" and reminds him he used to be human. Then the MC answers instantly with zero hesitation. His skeleton buddy makes one final play. He insists the bandits are just humans and the kids are the real demons. Our kid just shrugs it off, turns his back, and basically hits him with, "So what's your point?" He'd always stayed just out of reach, drawing an invisible line no one ever got to cross. But now he's screaming that species isn't a free pass for cruelty, and he's barking at Lionel to get moving right now. Right there, Lionel finally gets it. His master's sense of justice matches his own, spot for spot. It made him wonder, maybe his past life wasn't random at all, but somehow tied to protecting children. With one blazing, glowing eye, he throws himself into the command, fully accepting it and going all in on this rescue mission. A bony hand snaps onto a horn, ready to blast the charge and rally every soldier for the fight. And the skeleton archers snap to attention the second they get the signal, lining up their bows and ready to fire the moment the command hits. Our boy is totally stunned. He had zero clue Lionel was out there running full-on military drills while he was dead asleep. Yeah, the 8th and 9th archer squads are already locked in formation, ready to unleash pure hell on those bandits. And it's not just the archers. 2nd and 8th infantry squads are standing in formation, waiting for the order to sprint and crush forward. Lionel gives the all-clear, confirming both the archers and the infantry are battle-ready and standing by, waiting for the order with bated breath. Now that the firing ports are wide open, the skeleton archers have the bandits right where they can strike from the shadows. At the command, the crossbows snap up together in perfect sync, bony fingers curling onto the triggers like a single, hungry beast. Our boy snaps out the final grim order, "Prepare!" while Kyo-chan only pops out for a quick peek, completely clueless, like he's got no clue what's happening. Right off the bat, the first volley tears loose and the bandits get totally wrecked, blindsided by a sudden storm of arrows. Total chaos explodes, men scramble for cover, completely blind to where the attack is about to hit from. They're shrieking for the target, but the darkness swallows everything, and those hidden archers stay invisible. Meanwhile, the Dungeon Master just stands there, slack-jawed and stunned as his skeleton army pulls off impossibly good work. Right as the bandits scramble to regroup, a colossal explosion detonates across their line, shattering their formation and cranking the chaos to full blast. That's the cue for the ground troops. Right then, a big-brained skeleton captain barks for the 2nd unit to slam in and charge. This skeleton infantry barrels straight into the bandits' lines, shattering their panic and turning their retreat into an all-out massacre. Crawling out of his little hideout, he's stunned. His own troops are actually wearing the gear he built. And it's work. One of the bandit leaders roars for his crew, refusing to get knocked out by a bunch of puny skeleton small fry. He proves his point by whipping one axe swing that turns a skeleton into a pathetic pile of bones. Realizing it, our boy snaps at Lionel to hold the next volley. If they fire like this, they're going to blast their own troops. Lionel shrugs and goes, "Yeah, of course they'll get hit. Friendly fire is just part of the deal." This DM completely snaps, screaming that they can't just throw their own allies under the bus like that. But Lionel just shrugs and says the obvious. Just spend a little MP and the boss can revive them, so who cares? And our boy totally breaks down, panicking so hard he realizes he left his own powers behind, and that crushing shame hits like a truck. Lionel's eyes flash with pure terror as he calls for the second volley, and our boy just shrinks in the back like he can't move at all. This is getting ugly. This skeleton infantry is getting wiped out hard, so hard that one poor guy is literally begging for help as he gets shattered into pieces. That chaos detonates a full-blown panic in the remaining bandits, and they scramble for their lives straight into the woods. Lionel stays cool, then shoots the boss a confident question. Should they chase those runners? Because he's sure they can track them down. But the dungeon master shuts it down on the spot, barking that he should just handle the survivors they've already trapped. He tells them straight up that bandits who dump their own aren't real threats, and the way he says it reveals a shockingly cold, calculating strategy. His skeleton buddy squints and warns him. Once the army stumbles on this wreck, they'll pin it on the mountain, not some random thugs. And boom, our boy hits a galaxy brain moment and declares this is the perfect PR angle to kick open his dungeon. Lionel is totally baffled, convinced he must have missed something huge, and that genius plan suddenly feels like a prank. A quick dungeon master memo flashes up. Disaster strikes. He has no rope, and his magic can't just conjure one out of thin air. Luckily, those fallen soldiers left behind supplies, and now they're being used to tie off the captured bandits' problems for good. From his lookout post, the dungeon master watches in stunned silence as the smoke clears after his first real battle. He can't shake the brutal truth. Rescuing that kid forced him to sign off on the bandits' deaths. He's got a tiny twinge of guilt, sure, but nowhere near what he feared, and now he's staring at it like, is this what a dungeon master perk really does? In the end, he shrugs off the fear and tells himself, if his conscience stays clean, then everything's fine, cold as ice, and painfully practical. Then he and Lionel lock onto the real reason this whole disaster blew up in the first place. That rescued demon child is out cold, sleeping like nothing's happening, totally clueless about the slaughter that just tore through the area. Our boy starts acting all kinds of strange, blurting out if the kid's a boy and whether he's attached to him now, straight up leaving everyone totally baffled. Back in a scrappy little room, Lionel leans in and confirms the kid is a demon, straight up shocking the dungeon master. Then Lionel has to break it down and admit, yeah, demons are just a subcategory of the demon race, the classic, well actually, straight from your skeleton sidekick. Lionel barrels on with his lecture about demon biology, explaining they're almost human, but built to hate, and he. And he checks the kid and confirms it. He's unconscious, not dying, because you can tell they've survived pure hell. A fast flashback hits, and you see the kid locked in a cage, getting barely any food from the bandits, which has our boys grinding their teeth, jaw clenched, muttering that anyone who lays a hand on a kid is nothing but absolute scum. The second Lionel opens his mouth, the MC snaps in with a razor-sharp threat. He'll unsummon Lionel right there on the spot. A flicker of fire hits Lionel's eyes and he blurts, "Understood." He already knows exactly when to stop talking. So the dungeon master leans in and demands, "Why were you so desperate to throw yourself into this fight in the first place, huh?" And Lionel starts acting mysterious, dropping hints that maybe he used to be a warrior in a past life. But right away, our guy calls him out because he remembers Lionel swore he had amnesia the moment he was first summoned. Lionel just shrugs it off, grinning like, "I've been figuring it out as I go," while he trains the other skeleton. Right as they dive into this heavy, soul-bearing talk, two skeletons suddenly strike a dramatic pose, and it instantly fries the MC's brain. Keo-chan jumps in and basically goes, do you realize you just adopted a demon kid? And it totally blows up the boss's whole plan. And when it comes to the kid, they start twitching back to life, right as Keo-chan points out that this whole rescue is totally wrecking the schedule. A skeleton roars that the kid is awake, and in an instant, everyone whips their heads toward the stone slab. This kid jolts awake, completely lost, blurting, "Where am I?" And the MC quickly fills them in. It's dark in here. To make it work, he yanks out a craft spirit lantern, something he cooked up earlier with his own hands. He tries to calm the kid down, promising him they're safe, trapped inside his own twisted labyrinth now. With that creepy grin and his grim skeleton entourage looming behind him, the kid lets out a blood-curdling scream. Our boy totally botches the save. He freezes in shock and drops the lantern, just as the kid completely loses it. Lionel then has to spell it out, because a guy in a dark robe, ringed by skeletons, isn't exactly the warm and friendly welcome kind of vibe. Our boy tries to talk his way out of it, but those two skeletons lurking behind him make everything so much worse. And yeah, if you're seeing it through the kid's eyes, this isn't just scary, it's straight up a horror movie kidnapping scene. This demon kid, all swagger and claws out energy, jabs a finger and demands to know who they are, daring them to try messing with him. So the Dungeon Master's brilliant play is simple. Crank up the lights and order his skeletons to practice social distancing. Then he tries to play it off by insisting his own dad is a super scary demon, like that's supposed to soothe everyone, but it only makes things worse. Sure enough, the kid doesn't believe a word for a second. He digs in and demands proof that they're not enemies. Our guy just stands there, frozen, because he's got zero ideas left to prove he's the good one, while a literal skeleton army backs him up like a threat. But the tough guy act shatters the second his stomach erupts with a giant growl. He's starving. While the kid's still distracted, our guy slips up from behind, yanks a blanket into position, and makes his move. He's totally stunned, cheeks blazing as he takes the food, like he never in a million years thought someone would treat him with kindness. Our boy swore it wasn't a bribe, but the kid didn't buy it and kept glaring, muttering that he still couldn't trust him. With a weary shrug, he dismisses it all. Trust? I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I want. He points at the kid and makes it crystal clear. As long as he's safe, that's all that matters. No thanks needed. Meanwhile, two skeletons trade casual jokes about how they brought their fallen comrades back so easily, like it's no big deal at all. The Dungeon Master leans in and asks if the kid has a real home, then offers a skeleton escort because he can't leave the mountain. This makes the kid blurt out, "What are you?" And when our guy says, "I'm human," the kid's face lights up with pure shock. And the kid's brain goes into overdrive, convinced he's been pulled to safety by some mad scientist running twisted experiments. Our boy is absolutely mortified by this accusation. He's a dungeon master, not some lab-made freak. Now that he's finally stopped shaking, the kid leans in and blurts, "Wait, why aren't you scared of a demon like me?" Our boy deadpans that there's basically no real difference between humans and demons at all. Kyo-chan leans over the edge, frozen with confusion at this sudden philosophy lesson that hits out of nowhere. And our boy snaps open the truth. He's not human anymore. And the real monsters? It's people who enslave others. Kyo-chan then offers to let the kid slip away and spread the word. And honestly, it sounds like the worst plan ever. Yet. But the kid blurts, "What the hell are you?" While our boy grins and says he'd honestly welcome even more people. He lays it out flat. He's not nosing around at all, and he only saved that kid for his own selfish thrill. And somehow, that brutally honest way of putting it hits different, because the kid finally clicks. That weird truth was really a calming spell. The tension finally snaps, and that kid's bravado collapses. Then he bursts into a desperate scream for food. The bandits ditched a sweet haul behind, fresh bread, juicy apples, and melty cheese. And the kid absolutely destroys it, while our boy panics over how he's even going to get him home. Then everything breaks. He collapses into full-on sobs, insisting it's okay because his calorie ignore skill is still there, drowning in raw self-pity. After that huge bite, the kid flashes a grin and declares, loud and clear, that it's absolutely amazing. Totally sold. Leaving our boy frozen in stunned silence, totally not ready for something this simple to hit so perfectly happy. When the kid asks if he's eating, the MC plays it smooth, says he's totally not hungry, like it's no big deal. Obviously, that's a total lie, because inside, he's starving to death and counting every miserable second like it's torture. The kid shoots him a suspicious glare, like he's instantly seen through that tough guy routine. Kao-chan totally loses it, convinced the MC's gone so deep into character that he started eating like, what even is happening? Meanwhile, the kid just keeps shoveling food, completely clueless, while the MC and a sneaky skeleton spy watch him from the shadows. Stuffed to the brim, the kid drops into a huge, satisfied sigh and stares straight up at the sky. Then he faceplants on the spot, gloating that he's finally full, while our guy just stares, totally wiped out, drained to the bone. The dungeon master takes one look around at the wreckage and realizes this kid just devoured a full third of their entire food supply. This kid now volleys, "Are you trying to get rid of me?" and then flashes a grin, offering to take the leftovers instead. Kyo-chan and his buddy keep huddling together, whispering that this whole situation smells way too suspicious. Amelia just drops her gaze, utterly rattled and red-faced as all that attention crashes down on her. Our boy just stares right back, trying to crack the code on this twisted, confusing demon kid. At last, the kid snaps, face burning red, and blurts out that his name isn't what you thought. It's Melia. As soon as that bombshell hits, he faceplants straight into a full-on food coma. This dungeon master just keeps screaming the same name, his mind totally frying as he loses control. Lionel suddenly pipes up to tell him Melia's a girl's name, and the truth hits like a brick. Instant, full-blown panic. Our boy shrieks at Lionel for the jump scare, while the rest of the skeletons just stand there, posing like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Ko Chang gets a no-nonsense beating of the truth from a skeleton, because apparently somebody has to babysit the boss. Then this skeleton casually blurts, "So, is the boss a monster?" And boom, Kao-chan's whole identity shatters into panic. While the whole world spirals into chaos, Melia is passed out cold, sleeping like nothing's happening, and totally clueless. Yep, dreaming of apples and cheese took him out cold, and for once, he didn't worry about a single thing. Kyo-chan is still stuck on that name, and the whole situation has him utterly dumbfounded. Now our boys hit a brand new nightmare. There's a sleeping kid beside him, and not a single bed in sight, just cold stone slabs. He thinks about making something, then shrugs, since Melia'll probably bolt soon anyway. His little helpers just sat there, soaking up the whole domestic disaster with straight-up delight. Then it hits. If Melia stays, their food supply is already doomed, dwindling down to nothing. And suddenly, the idea that his demons and humans speak the same tongue hits him like a punch, way less convenient than he thought. He throws out a desperate plea to Lionel for intel on the Demon Society, but his skeleton sidekick just stares, cold, silent judgment. One of the skeletons cheerfully suggests they should just kick Melia out, and Kyo-chan absolutely hates the idea. Our boy coolly admits it. Yeah, he's absolutely not dad material, and raising a kid feels straight up impossible. He decides it's far more responsible to hand her back to society than to try some half-finished job of raising her all alone. A skeleton scrambles to give his report on the kid, but the dungeon master just keeps zoning out, eyes glued to the leftover food. Then, out of nowhere, one of those skeletons snaps into a full-on scream and pure panic spreads instantly. Our boy gets caught poking the sleeping kid's cheek, and his boss's minion instantly panics. "Don't touch her!" He gets totally flustered trying to explain to Lionel that Melia's got some kind of special magic. That bombshell hits him like a punch. He stumbles back, then screams at them for sitting on that critical info for so long. Then bam, right out of nowhere, a flashback slams us into a modern city skyline and the whole scene flips instantly. Roppongi, Tokyo, right here. A man and a woman are locked in an intense conversation beside a parked van. Then we slip into the headspace of someone who's face-planted on their desk, passed out cold in a silent, empty office. It's our boy's past self, Yu Takyaka, a tired office worker, yawning and stretching after pulling an all-nighter. Keo Shimada, his coworker, leans in and asks if he's actually reached out to their client yet. She snaps a look at the clock and tells him he's seconds away from missing the last train home. The clock snaps into view in a brutal close-up, and she can't wrap her head around it. True has run wild, and it's way past ridiculously late. Ko's own commute drags on forever, so she knows she has to hustle, like right now. With a trembling, worried stare, she tells him, "At this speed, you're not making it home." Even after those brutal hours, she's actually buzzing, working on a massive project right out of school. Turns out they're building the official website for the movie Labyrinth, and yeah, it's a huge deal. She even swears she's fine with pulling all-nighters, saying the corporate grind is something she's been used to for ages. She turns all red and stammers out, timidly insisting that Yu Takyaka is stuck working late too, right there with her. He snaps his gaze off his desk and gives her a total blank stare, totally clueless about what she's even trying to say. KO immediately backpedals, blurting, "It's nothing," with frantic energy, while he just smirks like he knows exactly what he's doing. Deep down, you can't help thinking she's like this little, fragile creature, and that every guy at the office is basically lining up to flirt with her. But before anyone can assume, he blurts out fast. He's not with them, she's way younger, and the two of them are just office outcasts too. Switching gears, Ko eagerly offers to run downstairs for a late-night snack from the convenience store. Then he flashes her this smug little grin and straight up asks if she's really sure she wants to go through with it. She already knows his order like it's stitched into her brain, and she teases him. "Same as always? Ant pen and your drink?" So you thrust a bill into her hands and tell her to pay for the food. With a slick grin, he tells her to pocket the change. Classic cool upperclassman energy. KO tries to argue she's not a kid, but she's glowing so hard from that gesture that it's impossible to take her seriously. She grins and teases him like he's some old man, then orders him, just stay right there and wait for her. With that, she bursts out of the office door, laser-focused on her snack mission. Now you're stranded all by yourself out in that huge dead corporate wasteland, looking totally drained. But KO slips back in for a second and drops a genuinely heartfelt thank you for everything he's done. He glances back, totally thrown off by that sudden sincerity, then shoots the same words right back. "Right back at ya." She flashes one last bright wave, then slips away for good. No maybe this time. Then the noise drops out completely, and you're left alone in the dark, slumped between rows of dead computer screens. Utter silence. He even mutters under his breath about how the whole place turned deathly quiet in an instant. Right as a news alert about a hostage crisis in Tokyo pops up on a nearby monitor, everything stops. You only glanced at the TV, utterly unmoved by the report that an international terrorist was lurking nearby. He stays out of it as long as it doesn't hit his own doorstep. Then, it's not his problem. This news goes full poetic and paints the empty buildings like giant hollow tombstones staring back at the city every night. Then the danger hits hard. The reporter confirms the criminal is packing a rocket launcher. The live footage captures someone leaning out of a window right in the middle of the mayhem. This mess hits him like Labyrinth, and he can't stop comparing society to a tangled maze. A twisted maze of nasty traps, full of people who didn't fight fair, just backstabbing, scheming, and snapping at every chance to trip each other up. He mutters under his breath like, "Yeah, that's pretty much what a dungeon is, right?" This reporter then slams the truth in. Every person inside the building is now tied to this dungeon. Right as a massive burst of light detonates from a nearby building, it lands like the perfect punctuation mark. Yu snaps around like she's been punched, eyes wide, trying to figure out what the hell just made that sound. His mind just sparks and snaps. He can't even process the sudden explosion roaring in the distance. Then his face snaps pale as the truth hits him. Something is dreadfully wrong. As soon as he spots it, a projectile rockets straight toward his office window. Yep, here comes a full-on rocket, blasting in just to deliver his termination notice to his face. The window shatters into a blinding storm of glass the moment the rocket slams straight into it. And we jump back to the present. His skeletons are in full panic mode, screaming, "Boss! Boss!" Our boy crumples to the ground, wheezing like he can't breathe, clutching his head as his own death replays in his mind. He's sweating like crazy, muttering about a killer headache. No joke, dude. One skeleton blurts out, deadpan and totally unimpressed, that this is the worst. Like the boss's PTSD breakdown is just not landing at all. After that brutal trip down memory lane, a skeleton shoots a quick look around to make sure the boss is still right there with them. Then the minion blurts out the truth. He's existentially tied to them, and if he drops, they don't survive. They straight up vanish. You just snatch the skeleton's skull in annoyance, like it's no big deal, and this happens way too often. After getting ripped apart and reliving it all over again, he just screams for one thing. He needs a damn bath. And honestly, you can't even blame him. His loyal minions waste no time. They rush in with a basin of water and a cloth, ready to help him right away. He slams the cloth onto his head, while the other skeletons flinch and cover their eyes, like the sheer drama is too much. Right when Kyo-chan's freshening up, she pops in and drops the million-dollar question. What the heck is this kid anyway? His other minions are completely baffled, staring around like, wait, when did we stop doing the usual thing where he shuts down questions? He jabs a finger at Milia and blurts out that her magic has a nasty bite. Once it touches you, it kicks in. His minions snap into a pose and grin, casually saying they're untouchable because they're powered by his magic. This hits him hard, and he blurts out, "Do your skeletons remember their own past lives too, like I do?" We catch another flashback to his old life, corporate drone mode, where he was the project manager who handled everything, no questions asked. One of the skeletons starts tapping his buddy's skull like a drumbeat, trying to shake loose a few last pre-death memories. But they say nothing unusual, so now you're left staring at this fresh, baffling layer of weirdness like it's about to explode. Then it hits him. Those bandits never even laid a hand on Milia, and that proves she's hiding a deadly power. Then the skeleton points out a wild vision, an ultra-bright, intricate building crowned with a glowing, transparent tower. You shut him down the second he claimed it was just a normal office building. No way, not some fantasy spire. Then it finally clicks. His brain catches up, and he stares at the skeleton with a razor-sharp, suspicious glare. He demands answers. How the heck his minions got into his personal memories, and the skeleton deadpans back, "I saw them." Then the skeleton blurts that it was Kei-chan all along, and you realize the two of them are somehow trading memories. A total mind freak. This skeleton starts to stammer and basically blurts out that its super personal bond with the boss is totally normal, except it's creepier than it has any right to be. Meanwhile, Yu's spiraling in a full existential meltdown on the floor, horrified that he just heard KO's voice coming from a skeleton. One of his minions just stands there, staring dead ahead, like he's thinking, did the boss finally lose it? Another skeleton tries to lift his spirits, bragging that he's way less gross now than the time he was completely splattered in mud. And that face just screams, "I'm going to dismantle you." Absolutely fuming after that backhanded compliment. 2 days drag by, and that weird, tense dungeon atmosphere spikes to an all-time high. Our boy, still rocking that moody hood, steps into the chamber to make sure his unexpected guest is still there. Inside, Milia is still face-planted and completely out cold on the stone slab, and the skeleton's silence screams she hasn't budged an inch. They're piecing everything together, and it finally clicks. Her weird power is the key that lets them tap into those used Takyaka memories. That snaps another flashback. His co-workers, freaking out in pure excitement, gushing that he worked in Roppongi. His buddy just scoffs, claiming this corporate win means nothing unless he really locks in, and then... You ever heard Buskill explain that it's the parent company calling the shots, not their tiny little department? Right now, he clenches his jaw and admits his old life sucked, and part of him thinks he'd be better off locking it away for good. A skeleton leans in and demands a plan for Melia, but you just shrug and tell him to let her sleep it off for now. This minion keeps pushing, demanding to know what happens if she wakes up and actually wants to stay. With a heavy sigh, you finally give in. If she wants to stay, you'll let her. This makes his skeleton snap into full meltdown. He screams at him for not checking with his loyal crew before making this huge decision. That skeleton keeps going on and on, demanding to know why he's getting so damn competitive with a literal child over who's really in charge. Then another voice steps in and blasts him with a full lecture about raising kids, columns, possibilities, food, education, the whole deal. You just wave it off with a dead-eyed, it'll probably be fine. Like the universe's catchphrase for, I really don't want to deal with this. One of the skeletons is left utterly stunned, staring like, how did the boss just swallow this insane situation so easily? You're drenched in sweat, and deep down you're roasting yourself like, wow, look at me, so sharp, with enough sarcasm to choke a dragon. Because out of nowhere, he gets hit with flashes of memories that scream, these aren't yours. A grim stone building looms in the vision, sealed behind one brutal, heavily barred window. Inside, he spots a younger, horned Melia, shattered beyond belief, like something inside her just snapped. She's trapped in her own head, locked away like a prisoner, straitjacketed and chained with a ball and chain inside her own home. So you realize this, if she's here with him, she deserves at least a chance to break free. His minions jump on it right away, nodding like, got it, this new plan's crystal clear. A little while later, a skeleton spots you slumped against the wall, sulking hard, and he's trying to get your attention. You shoot a glare back, daring them to say what else could possibly go wrong right now. But the skeleton grins and waves wildly, popping in with a cheerful, we're here, no matter who's listening. You peek out from the dungeon entrance and confirm, yep, they finally made it. A truly sinister grin claws its way across his face as he leans in and admits he's been waiting for them. Outside, a whole investigation crew pulls up in a carriage, armored knights flanking them like living guards. Meanwhile, in a nearby town, folks swarm a crammed bulletin board, whispering and screaming rumors about what just happened. People are whispering this huge rumor. Bandit thieves tried their luck, and a carriage was found wiped clean, with skeletons at the scene, blamed for the whole massacre. A crew of adventurers huddles up and chews on fresh news that confirms the bandits, while everyone still doubts the skeleton story for real. A battered man whips around to his buddy, flat out demanding to know what he thinks about everything. But this kid with two-tone hair just grins and points, cheerfully calling out a guy named R. The crowd starts whispering in disbelief, stunned that this tiny guy is actually a special grade adventurer. So this kid, ours, is a legendary great adventurer, a total jack of all trades, swinging a sword and casting magic, with people in town whispering that he's the local legend. His scarred buddy is still stuck on the why, grilling the skeleton like, why did you hit the bandits in the first place? Then someone finally snaps into focus the truth. Those bandits weren't killed at all. They were just yanked up and found tied tight, turning the whole skeleton nightmare even weirder. This makes him pause and slam the question out. Did you catch the whole crew in the carriage, all together? And now everyone's mind is racing. Turns out one of the guys had a secret inside source. Someone his acquaintance knew was on that very carriage, and they spilled every detail. By the time anyone finally arrived at the scene, the bandits had already rigged the place with death traps, and they were just waiting to spring them. Our special grade kid is totally stumped, mumbling that this whole situation has him utterly baffled. This scarred man storms right back to his starting spot and blurts out that he has absolutely no clue why skeletons are tossing around capture and release games with bandits. With that locked-in stare, he just blurts, I get it, thanks, like he's had enough and is ready to make his move. He wastes no time, scrambles to build a posse, and fires off the question, who's riding with him to the eastern region? Because when skeletons show up, that screams necromancer, and he's not getting left behind. This has the entire guild buzzing, because a necromancer who can raise skeletons strong enough to wipe out bandits isn't just a problem, it's a full-blown nightmare. But ours only smirks, convinced this necromancer's sitting on some seriously insane magic. With a smug grin, he dangles the real bait. An all-powerful mage like that is worth a treasure of magic gems. Then we get this super helpful info drop, and the second we hear one of those gems costs a whole month's living expenses, greed snaps into the driver's seat like a gasoline fire. He sweetens the deal and drops the bombshell that the Lord's own soldiers will move in too, so the last bandits don't stand a chance. The moment that gear started spinning in the adventurers' minds, one of them blurted, "Wait, does this mean the job is actually safe?" That's all it takes. Boom! The crowd erupts, people screaming, "I'm in!" while one adventurer grumbles that her party picked the worst day to disappear. In the blink of an eye, he put together a ragtag crew, scarred dude included, and they were all buzzing, ready to dive into the hunt, grinning like they couldn't wait. With pure victory lighting up his face, Ours grins at his brand new party and shouts, "All right, time to get moving to the carriage." A crew of roughly 10 adventurers banded together and queued up to march straight toward Yu's front door. He's already doing the math on his smaller slice of the loot, and the moment he gets how safety in numbers hits his wallet, he can't help but feel screwed. With a smug grin, he clocks this whole mob as nothing but a perfect meat shield, buying him the seconds he needs to slip away. He tells himself it's just a survival move, so when he inevitably slips out on them, at least he won't feel the heat. So our hero drags his expendable crew deeper into the woods, hunting for the necromancer's lair. Right in front of the cliff, he stops dead and double-checks that this is truly where those skeletons showed up. But something's seriously off, and we just freeze there, totally dumbfounded by what we're seeing. His party finally catches up, staring around like, where the heck did our leader go? And a nasty dread hits them hard. Meanwhile, the Lord's soldiers barreled in too, and their leader was grinning because he'd actually dragged in reinforcements. This captain knows he'll crush those bandits, but a cold dread creeps in, like someone's dangling a trap right in front of him. All of a sudden, he's left alone, screaming into the woods like the world just flipped, and his mind races. What the hell is even happening? One of his men yells, jabbing his finger at something the moment the earth starts to crack and crumble beneath them. Right on schedule, the investigation team's carriage rumbled straight up to the scene, and they rolled in like they owned the moment. Back in the dungeon, Yu is practically crowing. His scheme worked flawlessly, and his minions are nailing dead for effect like total pros. Staring at roughly 10 soldiers, he clocks the shift. These guys give off a way more ruthless, high-stakes vibe than Melia's old guards. Far off, he spots the carriage, and it slams the mystery wide open. The investigation team is here, and they're about to take center stage. A skeleton demands the plan, and Yu's face just lights up. Oh, it's locked in, and it's happening. Then this tiny slime pops up out of nowhere, shouting for Lionel, and suddenly, everything gets even weirder. You lean in and ask the skeleton if it's really going to follow through, and you're grinning like you're loving every second of the minion's terror. With a single command, he snaps the poor skeleton into motion, and it shuffles away in pure panic. His minion can't believe it. Why is the boss acting so calm? Like he's really just going to walk in and crack open the dungeon? You kick things off with a tense countdown, barking orders at his minions to get ready for the show. His skeletons snap up and launch into a full sprint, acting like prep time is totally optional. Outside, the soldiers lean in for a front-row view as the dungeon reveal countdown kicks off. This countdown keeps rolling. Then comes a simple, reckless idea. Just burst through the front door. But you're totally losing your mind, because you know there's no way it's that simple. He's seconds away from unveiling his masterpiece, the ultimate answer to everything the dungeon put him through. Meanwhile, our guy's crouched in the bushes like a shadow, perfectly placed to catch everything and blast the word to everyone. Because our boy is running the whole operation, stacking his skeletons like overworked staff to make it happen. And he's the director too, designer and master planner. Plus, he used to be a project manager, and honestly, he'll always be one. These soldiers are our main cast, totally clueless that the moment they step in, they're about to be thrown right into the show. With a totally unhinged grin, you welcome the investigation team to his little show. And that bony finger slams the execute button. Right then, the trap finally comes alive. At the last second, the whole cliff erupts. Violence bursts outward across the entire face. Even you got slammed backward by the raw, thunderous rage roaring for his minions while everything spiraled into chaos. These adventurers and soldiers scramble for their lives as the ground suddenly crashes down in a brutal rockslide. It turns into a total landslide. This whole mountainside just gives way and crashes into rubble. Our crew and his disposable party are sprinting for their lives, and every thought of loot gets wiped clean from their minds. He's frozen in total shock, yelling that the mountain just collapsed out of nowhere with zero warning. His thoughts sprint in every direction, trying to pin down the chaos. Did a dragon cause this, or did a golem unleash it? Then, right through the dust and chaos, a pair of boots steps out, calm as ice. As the dust finally drifts away, this weirdly happy tune bursts out, totally throwing everyone for a loop. He's totally lost, scratching his head while his own party members stare at him like they've seen a ghost. Because the whole cliff face got wiped away and replaced with a brand new dungeon entrance, Horkill spitting out promises of riches with absolutely no risk. They're literally marketing it as the perfect dungeon, and honestly, that's the biggest red flag in history. This lord's soldiers are stuck there, panicking and soaked in sweat as their serious mission suddenly feels like a theme park stroll. And that sign looks professionally carved, like it's trying to tell you exactly what's going on. Then, bam! Freaking confetti starts blasting out of the sky! Everyone just freezes in the thick fog, trying to wrap their heads around how a deadly landslide somehow turned into a grand opening ceremony. At last, one soldier blurts out the burning question everyone's thinking. What is this? Back with our boy, Yu's going absolutely feral. He's screaming like he just won an Oscar because his mountain trap finally worked perfectly. He's got an arm hooked around a skeleton, practically vibrating with joy because the adventurers just showed up, and now they're his audience too. His minion, though, is beyond done, begging him to please quit the dramatic overreaction already. This skeleton jerks his bony finger and says the invaders are frozen with the exact same stunned shock he's feeling. And yeah, our party and his are just frozen there, slack-jawed, brains glitching out like they've hit the end of the line. You. He bursts into a baffled performance for the director, blurting out, "How did a clean wall and readable text just show up?" Then cuts himself off mid-sentence. He plays along with the act, grilling Horkill like it's a clue and side-eyeing how perfectly those sound effects hit. Meanwhile, two skeletons at the control panel double-check everything. Remote control did the job, and they're smug about it. With a dramatic flourish, you revealed that the collapsed wall was only a cover because he dug that trap out long ago. This trap fires off spatial magic and sucks up every last chunk of falling debris, turning the whole disaster into something harmless. He smirks and says it was pure luck Lionel even knew about gunpowder, so they could whip up tiny, festive fireworks for the occasion. One skeleton is still obsessing over the trap's audio system, and you're like, nope, absolutely not. His head is pounding with a monstrous headache from all that technical rambling during the debrief. Then he spots Milia standing right there, and the whole time she looks totally unimpressed by everything he's saying. So he stammers out a nervous, "What's wrong?" while praying she's not furious that he used her voice to spring the trap. Meanwhile, his minions are huddled at a distance, whispering that their boss has been jawing with empty space non-stop lately. You snaps right back into gear, shouting at Lionel that the presentation's impact is more than enough, but just like that, the rage detonates. He throws a full tantrum, sobbing that Lionel doesn't get a single thing about his genius. Even that tiny slime chirps in, urging everyone to stop trashing the boss for his weird quirks. Suddenly, a warning blares, because the adventurers are finally about to move toward the dungeon. Out here, our guy is sprawled on the ground, absolutely losing it, cracking up like he can't even breathe. He's laughing so hard he's in tears, while his scarred buddy swears this isn't the kind of thing you laugh about. The rest of the party turns to him for answers, and they openly admit they're totally lost about what's even happening. Everyone's waiting for the special grade leader to drop some insane, brilliant insight and cut through all this chaos. And with a rock-solid, totally confident grin, they just read the name off the sign. Horkill Dungeon. His party is still scratching their heads, arguing if that slick, branded entrance is even a real dungeon or just some elaborate set. Right nearby, the captain of the Lord's soldiers is just as baffled as everyone else, staring at the chaos like he can't believe what he's seeing. We marched right up to him and told him straight, dungeons are for adventure, not some job soldiers should clock in for. This captain reluctantly gives in, then confirms the bandits aren't here, they're posted somewhere else along the main road. He's clearly not happy about some kid trying to draw the line on where his jurisdiction ends, and you can feel it. With a bright grin, he shouts that the party is marching inside, watching the captain get totally blindsided. Now it's all coming together. The necromancer, the soldiers, and this dungeon that's finally got the whole pro-grade branded seal on it. That quick info dump hits like a punchline. Dungeons aren't just rooms, they're living beings that spit out loot, all controlled by a shadowy dungeon master. With a greedy glimmer flashing in his eyes, Ours pushes his crew to remember, a dungeon left unsearched is a mountain of untouched treasure waiting to be robbed. The whole party is cheering, but our boy's already locked in on traps, wishing someone else would go first. He scans the area, clocking that the mountain has been carved into this unnaturally wide, way too friendly entrance, and it screams, "Don't trust this." Then it hits him. Every last piece of that landslide rubble is gone, like it vanished into thin air. He starts sweating, frantically trying to figure out how much magic he'd need to make something that huge vanish for good. His gaze slides up to that flawless carved sign, and he can't help but wonder how anyone managed to set it up in the first place. To get a good look up close, he'd basically need a levitation spell. And of course, the one thing he can't do is levitate. One of the girls in his group catches him staring off into space and asks, "What's wrong with you?" As soon as he steps inside, his mind basically short-circuits, scrambling to understand what he's seeing. His scarred buddy instantly snaps, screaming at him to come see what he just uncovered. And he's clutching a wooden chair up like it's evidence, staring at it with real confusion, almost asking, "So, is this what it is?" Because the whole first floor is basically a tavern, tables everywhere, and a real bar right there for the drinks. Another adventurer is totally snapping, yelling that a restaurant is about to kick off its grand opening right there. The rest of the party keeps searching, and what they stumble on is a massive open area that screams, "Banquet Hall," a little too loudly. Then someone else spots what looks like a food stall, and they're totally stunned by how this whole setup is even possible. That girl from before locks eyes on a staircase and, without hesitation, figures it'll lead to a second floor lined with rooms that look exactly like an inn. She whips her gaze to us for answers, but he's completely locked up, frozen in place, convinced this whole thing is some kind of massive, elaborate trap. She jabs a finger at the wall sign and demands, "Wait, are you telling me this dungeon is really part of that hotel?" His buddy calls it out like it's right in front of them, asking straight up if this place is a restaurant with a banquet hall hooked on. He's totally losing it, shouting that the whole situation is absurd, while his own party just stands there, staring him down in stubborn silence. Then someone spots a plain door in a brick wall, right where everyone swears the asterisk real dungeon entrance hides. Right by the door, a crisp, professionally printed sign hangs there, because of course it does. The place hands you a full-on welcome pamphlet, one beginner course for just 1 silver, and it even promises a zero-risk guarantee. Our boy just keeps repeating himself, utterly stunned that this whole thing is so ridiculously absurd. Even the captain of the guard is gripping his fist so hard his knuckles ache, muttering that this doesn't just break rules, it shreds common sense. While you're getting blasted with non-stop shouting from a screaming skeleton, it's basically yelling, "I told you so." This skeleton is losing it, screaming that this whole setup is completely unconventional. Yu snaps back on the spot, all defensive, firing off, "So what's wrong with charging an entrance fee?" In the background, a bunch of skeletons bicker and snatch every word, copying their boss's little meltdown to a T. He straight up asks if his plan was really that weird and totally misses the whole point. Then his minions snap into perfect sync and shout, "Yes, boss!" Like the whole room just agreed in one heartbeat. He brags that his genius plan is simple: pull adventurers in, have them cut down his minions, and then he levels up like crazy. A skeleton shoots a sharp look at the other minions and mutters that they're way too fired up, like they're itching for battle, not for being farmed. You strike a smug pose and insist it's all part of his master plan to climb the ranks and get promoted. Then he starts ripping into cappies and conversions, and the skeletons practically beg him to shut up. Suddenly, he explodes into a full-on tantrum, yelling that this was the only way he could legally make money. Still trying to catch his breath, he tells me the truth. Labyrinth magic is a nightmare to handle. So he built a safe, non-dungeon area first. He tells everyone his traps are totally non-lethal, made to mess with you and slow you down, not to hurt a single person. Hours locks eyes with that wild look like he's already figured it out. There's only one move left now. One of his tough brawler pals steps up to go first, but our guy is still scrambling to find the entrance. So the brawler lifts a silver coin in front of him, ready to put this beginner course to the test, his way. The moment his coin smack hits the floor, he disappears in a flash, because the trap snaps shut the instant he's gone. His party instantly loses it, screaming, "Where'd he go?" while ours just freezes, staring in stunned disbelief. In one chilling second, it finally hits him. This is a teleportation magic trap, and it's about to ruin everything. He finally clocks the trap's rules. Only the one who pays gets caught, and man, he's damn grateful he didn't volunteer first. They try to rush after him, but our guy stops them cold because a teleport trap makes every chase a total waste. With a grimace, he snaps that the first guy who paid the toll is almost definitely dead by now. Then, boom, the brawler reappears out of nowhere, standing there even more baffled than before. Stumbling forward, he blurts that he got yanked back to the banquet hall somehow, and now he's burning with rage because he still failed. His scarred buddy leaned in and asked what was inside, and the second the question hit, his eyes blew wide as the memory slammed back in. He spotted a giant silver ingot, and the whole party instantly locked onto it like greedy diamonds in human form. The moment they hear that silver ingot clink, the other adventurers snap into action, already fired up and diving in head first. A full-blown argument erupts instantly over who gets to cough up their silver coin and go next. Even his scarred buddy is jumping into the gold rush, leaving us absolutely stunned. Right after that, the whole crowd vanishes. Only a handful of nervous adventurers remain. We're left sitting there like, what the hell is happening? Because this is way too tempting to be real. He slumps against the wall, eyes locked on the chaos, and clocks out the minutes. About 10 have passed since everything blew up. His last party members swear that 7 adventurers already stormed in and returned, so now only the skeptics are left to go. Ours stares at you with the look of a guy seconds away from ruining his life, then shrugs like, why not? He flings his silver coin into the slot, and just like that, he buys his way into this whole nightmare. In a blink, he teleported into a huge, empty, tiled room, and the regret hit him instantly. At the far end, the promised silver ingot gleams, and it looks way too much like bait to trust. Our boy instantly clocks that something's off, because this whole situation reeks of way too much luck. The silver gleams so clean it's spotless, no tarnish, not a speck. Honestly, that's physically impossible, right? Suddenly, a voice with no body barges in and lays down the rules. Spot the one safe route or get thrown out on the spot. On the wall, one lonely button stares back. It's the only clue in this bare-bones nightmare of a room. Ours starts piecing it all together. Every single adventurer is trapped in their own copy of that same room. He gapes at the endless dungeon floor. Like, did the dungeon master just copy-paste this whole level? Then he scoffs like, seriously, who on earth would be crazy enough to build dozens of these? To crack this puzzle, he's got to spot an invisible route across a floor crawling with hidden traps. His brain snaps into action, doing fast-fire math and landing on the truth. there are roughly 3,600 identical tiles. And yep, every single tile is identical, like the game's laughing at you, giving you absolutely zero help. So he goes full old school. He slams his sword into the floor, jabbing around like he's hunting traps. This tile magically snaps back into place like, "Nice try, genius." And it's so obvious it almost taunts him. That quick dungeonology lesson hits hard. Managed dungeons don't let you smash your way through them. This confirms it. He's trapped in a master's dungeon, and those walls are basically unbreakable. Aur's expression tightens as he realizes this just turned into a whole lot more trouble. He freezes, realizing there's no way anyone can memorize a route across 3,600 tiles, so a trick has to be hiding somewhere. Out of options, he slams his choice and hits the giant obvious button on the wall, no hesitation. He's completely stunned when something real actually happens in this dungeon, because this place is pure weirdness. Suddenly, a trail of light ignites on the floor, spelling out the exact safe path he has to take. It pushes straight toward the silver ingot, but right when victory is in reach, it conveniently halts a breath before the prize. Then the lights die out, and he's stuck staring at one brutally simple memory game he can't stand. He starts moving, eyes locked in concentration as he ticks off every memorized step, 6 straight ahead, then 6 hard to the right. But then he hits the next turn and his brain totally short-circuits. These identical tiles give him nothing, just a bottomless grid packed with ways everything can fall apart. He's completely lost the pattern, right where this cruel trap wanted him all along. Our boy starts panicking, realizing this isn't some simple stab at a pressure plate. This is way harder. He's panicking, trying to lock in the next move, because one wrong step would slam him back. And yeah, he admits this whole mess is way more annoying than he ever realized at first. He twists his focus forward and points at the goal, forcing himself to picture the whole route in his head. In the blink of an eye, he's yanked straight back to the entrance hall, still stuck on pointing like a total idiot. Some other adventurer shrugs it off and admits, yeah, the puzzle is brutal, and failing it hits hard. When we're getting wiped out and I'm hearing nothing but screams, yelling won't fix a thing. So tell me, when did I even start failing? Then it suddenly clicks. One simple, elegant, and maddening trick is hiding inside that trap. He drops his gaze to his hand, and it's still stuck in that same pointing pose, frozen like time stopped. While he tried to pinpoint the source in his mind, he thrust his arm straight out. Then his fingers sliced through the air over the trap tile, and right on cue, the mechanism yanked the eject button instantly. Ours is losing it completely, yelling that he screwed up a stupid basic move like it was the easiest thing in the world. In the control room, a bar graph shoots up like it's alive while someone watches, practically laughing with glee. Yu grins and gestures to a skeleton minion, yelling that adventurers are pouring in to try his little trap of a challenge. His monitor flashes the numbers. 16 of the 30 slots are live right now in the beginner course. Staring at his earnings, he's already stacked 51 silver coins, and he's calling that a damn solid start. This screen is packed with analytics. One by one, it logs every player, measures how far they push, and watches the exact moment they crash. One of his minions leans in and breaks down the local hustle. 10 silver coins buys you a night at an inn. Yume admitted he'd worried that 1 silver entry fee was too steep, but he clearly misread just how far human greed would go. That tiny shadow creature quivers and asks, "Boss, are we really sure this whole plan is gonna be okay?" Then his skeleton minion blurts out the one brutal truth. Nobody has managed to pull it off yet. Not even once. With a smug grin, Yu says, "That's the whole point. Because if they really won, he'd be the one in trouble." This prize is a straight-up lie. He can't even afford to make silver ingots in the first place. His skeleton buddy is spiraling into an existential crisis, and he can't stop asking if everyone's just going to throw in the towel. But you say humans may be brilliant, yet they're always itching to pull off the wildest, most unexpected move imaginable. He flashes back to that moment he watched a user pull off a bug no one should have been able to uncover. And he remembers his old life, getting totally played by a claw machine, and the lesson sticks. The best way to rake in money is to make failure look like a joke. This skeleton leans in and asks, "So you're telling me all this wild, crazy stuff isn't part of my grand plan?" Yu nods like it's all under control, even after some fool fires an arrow at the prize, then gets instantly kicked out. He even watched some dude try to climb the walls like it was nothing, impressive as hell, but it still got him absolutely nowhere. People tried dashing in and prying up tiles. Whatever it was, he'd already clocked it, countered it, and slammed the door on it. This skeleton minion is still scratching his head, trying to figure out what kind of dungeon warp teleport junk would sneak onto a welcome mat. Then inner monologue hits. He's banking on humanity's biggest weapon, our brains. With a smug grin, he orders his minions to sit tight and watch everything explode as the show unfolds. Meanwhile, in the hall, our crew and the other adventurers are packed together, trading battle plans and plotting their next move in urgent strategy talks. His skeletons lay the truth bare. He's pointing right at what it looks like to him, and you can practically see it. He might have miscalculated. One guy breaks down his results. He's tried this 4 times, and even though the room stays exactly the same, the safe route flips every single run. That's where things get creepy. If there are multiple identical rooms, then the silver could be a fake. But then the metals expert snaps in, swearing that bright gleam can only be real, pure silver. We're just locked in, staring into nothing, because yeah, admitting this whole dungeon thing is a straight-up genius move. Another adventurer nods along, insisting this simple trap had to be beatable by design. Our boy starts snapping the clues into place, theorizing that the Dungeon Master Asterisk is pushing Asterisk them to clear it. He scans the banquet hall, stunned. Why in the world would a dungeon need a restaurant and an inn? It's built to keep repeat customers coming back, but if nobody ever walks away victorious, they'll quit showing up for good. This key hits him, and suddenly it's making adventurers feel like they're barely winning, just enough to keep them desperate for what's next. That rush of being right there with them is exactly what hooks them into loyal, paying regulars. From his control room, Yu smirks, clocking a real smart customer, because we're in for a long wait, and they're about to take their time getting here. That spiky-haired troublemaker gets called out. Turns out he's the one who hyped everyone to go grab that all-you-can-hold silver ingot. Now the whole party is buzzing like crazy, picturing the insane rewards waiting on the intermediate and advanced courses. And you sit there watching the hype explode, thinking it's all unfolding exactly like he planned. One of his underlings snaps into a spiral, picturing a future where nobody ever wins, and the dungeon finally goes broke. One of the younger adventurers is already hooked, leaning in like, "Let's do this," and poised to toss another coin at the problem. Then an announcement slams through the hall. The dungeon shuts its gates at sunset. And listen, if you're still inside, they'll force you out and hand you a full refund, which is straight up bizarre, but honestly, that's amazing customer service. All of us, and the rest of the adventurers, just froze there, totally stunned that a dungeon could even have business hours in the first place. This crowd goes feral, screaming that a dungeon having a closing time is downright ridiculous. Meanwhile, Yu smirks and waves off his valued customers after grinding out 89 silver with 0 winners on day 1. And just like that, the legend of Hawkeye Dungeon kicks off, a hideout carved from nothing but ruthless, no-holds-barred greed. Elsewhere, a worn-out merchant leans in and tells a kid, "Stop hiding, learn to handle business on your own once and for all." That long-haired guy with glasses just lets out a heavy sigh. Crystal clear he's not exactly thrilled about lugging that crate around. A tiny doodle says it all. He's basically being booted out the door with a handful of seed money and a go-on try thrown after him. Right after the merchant storms out, the woman in the shop mutters that Lucas is way too calm for his own good. She's right. You've got to grind hard just to survive in this world. And Lucas? He's clearly got nothing close to that. And yeah, 2 months later, Lucas is curled up with a cup of tea, staring at his dwindling money like he can feel it slipping away. Then he catches snippets of a tavern conversation. Some guys are hyping up a brand new local attraction, a dungeon. Of course they're all talking about Hawk Hill, arguing over those rumors, trying to figure out if it's really safe to step inside. Lucas leans in, eyes locked on the speaker, and a spark of interest finally cuts through his bored expression. His business instincts finally click, and since nobody's dropped a shop near the dungeon yet, he sees a perfect chance to rake in a fortune selling overpriced goods. With fresh purpose burning in his chest, he decides he has to go check the place himself. No excuses. He barrels up to the entrance and freezes in front of the sign everyone whispers about now, the infamous Hawkle. But when he steps inside, he hits a total wreck. Junk piled everywhere, discarded boxes stacked up like trash. Nothing legendary about it at all. Outside the dungeon, a full-on makeshift camp exploded into life. People were sizzling food on the spot and trading like crazy. It's a full-blown gold rush town. Merchants are shouting their wares as the dungeon-crazed crowd swarms in. Lucas just stands there, soaking it all in, wondering if every single person around him is secretly an adventurer. As soon as he steps inside, he hears it. 50 people are outside, and even more crowd in here, too. This place is packed. He strides up to some random adventurer and fires the million-dollar question. So tell me, does this dungeon actually make money? Her answer is brutally honest. No sugarcoating. It's not a home for your dreams. It's a place where your money goes straight to die. Honestly, she's straight up telling us the only one who's truly cashed in so far is our guy over there. So, yeah. And there's our old buddy R. Apparently the only guy who actually bothered to study the dungeon's rules. This girl decides Lucas is here for some treasure chest, but Lucas snaps it shut. He has zero clue what it even is. So she just jabs a finger at the dungeon entrance and tells him, straight up, to go check it out for himself. He shoots back fast, making it crystal clear he's just a merchant, not some hero hunting for a fight. With a sly smirk, she shrugs. Honestly, it's probably better this way. Adventurers would struggle way harder to clear this place. Then she flings the price tag at him, just 1 silver coin, like, go on, try it. Lucas instantly panics, blurting that he's got zero interest in trying at all, but she just reclines, stone calm, and tells him, 1 silver coin buys your way in. Our boy's totally stunned, like he never even trained for this level of pressure. Even with all his protests, his feet betray him and start marching straight for the beginner course entrance. Next thing he knows, he's back in that same tiled room, face to face with a wall of rules, just like the one we saw. With pure resignation etched on his face, he extends his hand and slams the big, obvious button. And just like that, our non-adventuring merchant finally gets billed, turning into an actual paying customer of this totally ridiculous dungeon. Lucas steps into the puzzle room, and honestly, he looks way too calm for the chaos waiting to hit. He plants his first step onto the grid, and fear never even dares to show up on his face. Right there in the middle, he just stares things down, calm as ice, totally the opposite vibe of our boy ours. His brain runs on straight-up classic RPG logic. Every dungeon is built for fighting monsters, grabbing loot, and leveling up. But this place feels like a death-level puzzle, yet there isn't a single monster anywhere in sight. Lucas muttered to himself, "What the hell is this place supposed to be?" He's already dissecting the business model, zeroing in on who built it and why it feels less like a death trap and more like a slick storefront. Our boy then goes straight for the heart of it, calling out to the empty room and asking if the dungeon master would please explain the whole concept. And he gets exactly the kind of response you'd predict. Total, absolute, deafening silence. With a heavy sigh, he admits it. Yeah, asking that out loud was probably the dumbest move he could have made. Then he readjusts his glasses, eyes blazing, like he just cracked the whole code, and only a human mind could have solved this. Then he strides across the floor like he owns the place, pure confidence driving every step. He doesn't even blink. He saunters straight over the deadly tiles like the whole trap was his personal driveway. He finally snatches the prize and with zero hesitation declares he's taking the silver right now. He lunges for the ingot and somehow, some way, he cracks the puzzle on his very first shot. We jump back to the day before, and right there, Piled high like a treasure mountain sits a massive stash of gleaming silver coins. In the control room, Yu is basically drowning in his earnings, throwing a full-blown victory party like his genius plan just struck gold. He's flexing that he raked in over 1,000 silver in a week, boasting a massive 75% retention rate on day one. Then he starts rambling about user acquisition and retention drop-off, and somehow his whole skeleton minion crew gets swallowed up in corporate jargon. You're cackling to yourself while you shake that poor skeleton. He's totally clueless, and you're acting like a real startup villain. His minion shoots him a look so fed up it might as well scream, "I'm done with this startup, seriously." Meanwhile, you're testing out your brand new corporate jargon like a college kid who just cracked open economics for the first time. Staring at that mountain of cash, the skeleton can't help but wonder, can they turn it all into even one real prize? So you're telling me he just casually flexes his Dungeon Master powers and yanks out pure silver from the coins with sheer audacity. Like what? At first, it just spits out this ugly, lumpy hunk of metal on the table. But then he just starts poking it again and again, reshaping it into the prize for the intermediate course. And just like that, he's holding 3 perfect, shiny silver ingots. But man, they're kinda small. He's convinced that stacking up a bunch of tiny prizes is way more tempting, while his skeleton buddy trembles at how his boss's schemes are gonna blow up in their faces. That little minion blurts out, "Yeah, no, stuff like this fine metalwork would usually take a whole crew of top artisans." Then his skeleton fires back, dead serious, asking if he's really trying to cram those into every single challenge room. Yu snaps back that they've got 40 rooms, then demands if the skeleton's even done the math. And the skeleton proudly crunches the numbers, 120 ingots, like that totally isn't the exact point you were trying to make. A tiny diagram spills the real secret. When you touch the prize, you don't win it, you just set off a teleport trap. One of his minions panics and blurts, "Are we really gonna scam the adventurers who finally earned a win?" You explain it like this. They don't teleport the asterisk player at all. They only beam the asterisk prize straight into one real goal room. With the plan locked in, that little shadow creature grins and plunks the real ingot onto its pedestal. Suddenly, an alarm blares. Then someone clears it for real, and his minions completely lose their minds. You just watch the silhouette slip into the prize room, muttering that he knew this guy would show up, and yeah, it's our boy, holding that ingot like he owns the world, smug as hell. One of the minions blurts out that he's a special grade adventurer, and that label instantly throws you for a loop. This skeleton tells him that anything above special grade is a national level hero, and honestly, that level is almost unheard of. Then his minion starts griping that our crew stole their only silver ingot, and it honestly feels pretty low. But you're not worried at all. You keep saying the only thing that matters is the dungeon is up and running, and it's starting to gain serious momentum. He calls it a massive promotional jackpot. If we win, Hawk Hill's reputation is going to blow up. As soon as the word spreads that the prize is 100% pure silver, he fully expects customers to start swarming and lining up around the block. His underling shoots, "You planned all this that far ahead?" And you grin like you're born to be smug. Obviously. But then the skeleton spots the gap in the plan. What if our guy really wants to try again? And does he even have the cash to pull it off? This snaps another minion into a full panic, and they realize their precious prize stash just can't keep up with the demand anymore. You just toss another rule at them like it's nothing? Clear the dungeon only once a day? And the skeleton just stands there, dead-eyed, totally locked up, like it can't even begin to understand what it's hearing. Yu says it's simple. He's using a biometric authentication system to stop the same person from winning twice. His minion has zero clue what biometric authentication even means. So you explain that the moment every adventurer walks in, they scan your iris and stamp a one-of-a-kind ID just for you. This skeleton can't even talk, just stammers "boss" under his breath, while you stay calm and press, "So what's the problem?" Right after that, the minion blurts that the whole system is insane, and you're grinning like a proud genius over what you just built. He's even mulling over how iris scanning still isn't mainstream in Japan. Like that makes him a legit, no-question innovator. When they asked if ours would try the intermediate course, you shut it down fast, saying it won't be open for a while yet. This skeleton is completely thrown off. Why would they shut down their best ad right when it was supposed to play again tomorrow? You've got to remind him of that 1 per day rule, because the second you don't, the minions start screaming like we're broke. Meanwhile, Ars's party is huddled in full battle mode, pushing him to get a serious level up because whatever's coming next isn't going to wait. You smirk, acting like it'll take them days to clear the dungeon again, so you've got all the time in the world to rack up profits. He's cackling to his minions about his perfect plan, but one lone skeleton isn't buying a single word of it. But the very next day, a minion barged in shrieking that someone else had already cleared it, and you went ice cold. The new winner stomps into the final chamber, and those boots hit the floor like they own the place. And it's Lucas who clocks the silver ingot on the spot, because that teleportation spell is clearly rigged. He swings his gaze to the altar, and it's totally stripped bare, like the prize vanished into thin air. Right behind him, a hooded figure suddenly springs into view, and Lucas nearly jumps out of his skin when he realizes it's the Dungeon Master. Our boy shoots back right away. So you're the one behind this whole weird operation, yeah? That hooded guy only said a simple, non-committal, yeah, but it still confirmed who he really was. Lucas breaks it all down and lands on the chilling truth. Only a bona fide genius could have cooked up a dungeon this wildly unconventional. Yu looms over him, demanding his questions and telling him it's on Luca to answer. This blindsides Lucas completely, because he's the one who pushed to ask the questions first. You snapped in, cutting him off mid-sentence, and demanded to know what he was even talking about. Then he faceplants on the floor right away and starts apologizing like a total wreck over and over in the most pathetic way imaginable. Lucas just stands there, totally stunned, watching this sudden, wild personality flip happen right in front of him. He told me he never expected anyone to smash through it this fast, so he hasn't even picked up the next prize yet. He jabs a finger at the bare pedestal, grimly admitting his prize stash can't possibly keep up with the winners. From the floor, he shoots out one more tiny, pathetic sorry, like a true professional who can't even afford to inconvenience anyone. Lucas is straight up unraveling, throwing out the truth that he has absolutely zero clue what's happening anymore. Yu pops back up, says he'll hand the silver to us and not him, then leans in and asks if Lucas is broke. Yu swore he was about to hand over that prize, then bam, a tiny mix-up in the logistics blew the whole plan off course. Lucas just sits there, and all he can think is, man, this sounds exactly like some student out here begging for a loan extension. He's trying to claw his way through the chaos and figure out what the hell is really going on with this so-called dungeon master. Meanwhile, he's sprawled on the floor, telling himself this pathetic move was actually a genius test of character. Lucas hears that and just turns his back, instantly clocking the guy as an utterly horrible human being. He simply fixes his glasses and says he doesn't even need the silver. Your jaw drops in pure shock. Yu immediately erupts into cheers for his flawless Japanese diplomacy. This guy's a negotiation monster, clearly. But Lucas slams right in, shuts him down, and declares he wants something else. Then he seizes the moment and takes control. This dungeon master is utterly stunned by what just happened, and he keeps blurt typing the same word over and over. And now he's shoved the idea into Lucas's head that he's nothing but some kind of monster, playing with his feelings just for laughs. Lucas then presses, "What do you want?" and even offers to toss you a little bone like a dog, only for you to politely shut it down. What he's really after is answers, so he pushes the dungeon master to teach him a few things. So tell me, why on earth did you build this insanely ridiculous dungeon in the first place, if you're going to cut right to the point? Yu's plan was almost insulting. He didn't want power or revenge, just enough money to stop going hungry. Then he scrambles to explain it, saying this crazy, elaborate death trap is only there to serve him his next meal. Lucas can't even get words out, calling that dumbfounded excuse to cram a dungeon with teleportation traps pure insanity. Yeah, this totally hits a nerve because you're just glaring at him from under that hood. And Lucas instantly clocks that he might have just dropped a line he definitely shouldn't have. You absolutely blow up, yelling at the top of your lungs that Lucas finally clocked the truth. He's totally broke, leaving our boy completely stunned by this sudden, pathetic confession that makes zero sense. Lucas just stands there, completely frying in place after that pathetic confession. Meanwhile, Yu is spiraling into an internal meltdown, snapping at Lucas like, "You're just another rival here to mess with me, huh?" Our boy gets hit with that outburst, and he just turns away, frozen in stunned silence. He's walking away from his whole super-intelligent dungeon master theory, burning in flames behind him. Lucas suddenly sees the whole conversation for what it is, a wild power game, and he's not the one holding the strings. With Acai, he flat out admits defeat, and it totally blindsides you. You ask what sparked the sudden shift, and Lucas finally confesses that he believed his real purpose had been exposed. Then he blurts out this wild backstory, how he was a business school genius and still somehow felt like he wasn't good enough. You're just sitting there, staring in total confusion as this sudden, wildly unnecessary personal monologue crashes in like it owns the place. This flashback throws us right into the past. One of his old rivals shows up, and somehow, this guy is a born master at literally everything. Lucas admits he never imagined he'd run into a business rival he just couldn't outmatch. But once he went through it, he couldn't deny it. This bizarre dungeon was nothing short of brilliant. He couldn't even wrap his head around someone brave enough or reckless enough to build something that weird. And it hit him like a spark. Pure, electrifying thrill, something he hasn't felt in years, the rush of the unknown. He's torn between chasing the one real equal and the crushing fear that he'll get completely outmatched. He locks eyes with you and bluntly says the Dungeon Master is even more incredible than the dungeon itself. You just stood there, like, totally stunned, staring at the sudden hero worship, like, wait, what? Lucas yanks him in, crowding his space as he rants like a superfan about getting the upper hand, and you're just losing your mind, screaming at him to back off. Lucas steels himself, then blurts out an apology for getting swept up. "I just wanted to talk," he insists. And you probably just exhaled because the weird grabbing finally stopped. So he cautiously nods and agrees to talk. So you kick things off, still scratching your head like, who is this guy, and what's his real motive? Lucas jumps right in, grilling him hard and demanding to know exactly how many tries it took to finally clear the dungeon. You deadpan that it was his first try, and Lucas is totally stunned. So Lucas, straight up the ultimate businessman, pitches the idea of setting up shop right here in the prize room. Then he sizes you up and blurts that you don't look like an adventurer, so he figures you're just a merchant. You lays out his master plan, selling food, supplies, and lodging to the adventurers like it's all part of something much bigger. And Lucas is acting like you really think that'll pull off a true vote of confidence. Like, come on, you just lock eyes with him and give a dead stare. Like, are you seriously telling me you still don't get it? This shatters Lucas's mind. He can't even remember the last time anyone had the nerve to tell him he was wrong. And instead of getting offended, the guy turns totally giddy, blurting out that it's weirdly fun to be clueless for once. Our boy is completely thrown off, stammering awkwardly like, "Yeah, sure, it'll sell." Then Lucas snaps into focus. If the dungeon shuts at sunset, adventurers are going to need supplies, and fast. He asks if this is the business you want to talk about, and our boy just shrugs and tells him, get on with it. This business genius can't stop grinning because he just realized this is his golden ticket to being with his new idol for as long as he wants. He's so hyped he's basically itching to start right now, practically vibrating with pure excitement. Meanwhile, you're just trying to stay standing under the sheer weight of his personality, and all you can manage is a pitiful little thank you. Once the deal was sealed, you casually snapped a table and chairs into existence for their very first official meeting. Then it hits Lucas like a punch. He remembers you calling him a novice just earlier. He snaps to the truth. No rookie could possibly have this kind of intellect. Then turns to us, ready to ask what we really think. Meanwhile, Yu kicks back with a drink and shrugs, telling everyone the dungeon isn't dangerous, just weirdly unconventional. Our teammate deadpans. Yeah, unconventional is definitely one way to put it. Lucas bursts into cackling like a lunatic, and the woman immediately snaps. Are you even okay? But he's stuck inside his own head, rambling on and on about how he finally found a mind that actually gives him real hope. Without a second word, he whips around and strides away, loudly declaring he's heading back to town. Then he drops his big master plan. He's going to be the very first one to set up shop right here. And he's not just walking, he's sprinting, yelling like crazy about becoming the Yu's #1 disciple. And at this point, yeah, it's basically a cult now. We just stare as he walks off, totally stunned, like, what the heck is wrong with him? A little character card flashes. Lucas's flaw is overthinking, because right now he's staring at a brutal 3-hour trek back into town. The very next day, a brand new general store named Hill's Shop popped up right beside the dungeon. Right beside it sits Hill's Restaurant, staff already on the clock, and it looks like it's ready to fire up the moment you walk in. And to seal the whole instant business district, they've just unveiled a brand new hotel, the Hawken. Ours is just... He's just frozen in place, staring at the madness like it can't be real. Because yesterday, none of this existed. Suddenly, Lucas is behind the front desk, dropping room prices so confidently you'd think he runs the whole place. Right away, an adventurer strides up and demands a shared room, then asks where he can exchange his currency. This innkeeper hooks guests with a killer exchange rate. No fees, no tricks, just a smart business move that's way too clever to ignore. This brand new inn is way bigger than it sounds. 15 rooms, enough beds for 60 people. Inside the dorms, adventurers are already flooding in, dropping their bags like they own the place. An employee proudly pitches a tight little room packed with classic, no-nonsense bunk beds for anyone trying to stick to a budget. He then gestures down the hall and points out the toilet, like, yeah, it's the one you'd expect in a place like this. Luca doesn't waste a second because they're on the 3rd floor, and in this world, you don't get anything fancy like that. You usually end up with just outhouses. An employee leans in and reveals the toilets are powered by magic stones that cleanse all the waste once a day. Now that's next-level plumbing. Lucas deadpans that since it's a closed system, nothing can go wrong. Then he acts like the tech isn't even a big deal. This poor guy just stands there, utterly dumbstruck, his brain fully short-circuits from how casually it's all being analyzed. Then he proudly shows off the sink, powered by a water magic stone that summons running water the second he needs it. He quickly waves it off like it's no big deal, practically begging you to use it freely, trying hard to downplay the real genius. He leans in, tells Lucas to flag any problems, and practically pleads with him not to spiral or overthink it. To top it all off, he even slips him a restaurant discount card. Classic customer service, but way cooler than you'd expect. Lucas just stared as he bolted off, and the gears in Lucas's mind started grinding, because whatever was happening, it was definitely stirring up answers. At the front desk, I spot 2 picture frames parked on an otherwise empty counter. Suddenly, Lucas snaps his head towards something off-screen and barks a call, his face set like a blade. And it is. And you're the one who suddenly barges in, asking what Sensei wants this time, like you somehow missed the entire chaos you're standing in? Lucas shoots back with a smug grin like, so does this make me the disciple? And oh man, he's absolutely eating up this whole dynamic. They finally crack the doors open, unofficially, and stare around at their brand new, unbelievably empty lobby. Luke. Lucas blurts out the real problem right away. This place has 0 customers, not one. You admits, yeah, business is a bit slow right after opening day, but he says it like it's nothing, a total master of understatement. He swears most adventurers would rather crash outside for free than cough up a single coin for a room. The whole plan is to whip the inn into pure luxury, so cozy and insane that people will choose to pay for it without even thinking. In one of the rooms, you pitch the next big project as a bathhouse, and the second Lucas hears it, his curiosity lights up instantly. He asks what kind of bath everyone's into around here, and you hit him with a single word: steam. Lucas starts daydreaming about a sauna already, mapping out every heating detail and how to control the temperature. Lucas is instantly hooked on the sauna idea, and his business brain starts racing like it already has a plan.
But you wave him off and shoot back. Anything else going wrong with the inn and Lou?
Lucas, fully locked in as his new disciple, tells his sensei he's got a ton he needs to learn from him. Our boy deadpans that he's a total rookie who threw this place together with zero skill, so yeah, go ahead. Treating it like a red carpet invitation, Lucas barrels into a no-holds-barred business takedown. Right off the bat, he shuts the whole idea down. There's no spot there to wash or dry that mountain of linens. This river is so damn far off that doing laundry turns into a full-on logistical nightmare. And the hallways are so tight you can't even squeeze big furniture through without a fight. He even says the east-facing layout is why the place feels gloomy, and you're completely floored. After you laid out the whole mountain of problems, you just shrugged and promised you'd handle it. Lucas's estimated time for a full architectural overhaul was just 2 or 3 days, enough to crush him completely. You tell him it's a breeze to stretch the building with dungeon magic. You just have to prep for the crowd that's coming. Then he hurls the sensei title right back at Lucas, and Lucas just stands there, stunned to the bone. A little later, Lucas spots the lobby exploding with people out of nowhere, and his eyes widen as he scrambles to figure out what just happened. He flicks his gaze to his watch, and in that instant it clicks. This time of day is the key to everything. This guy's already pulling live tracking data, and he clocks it. Every challenger is up by 20 from yesterday. You casually correct his wording and ask, like it's obvious, do you mean stats, not just numbers? Those word statistics hit Lucas so hard he freezes in place. No amateur would ever use language like that. And for a split second, panic claws at him, because he can't stop thinking, is basic data analysis treated like some alien concept here? But Lucas shuts that down and says it's a super specialized field, and honestly, that only makes you look even more brilliant. Lucas says he understands statistics like they're a superpower, but most people totally miss the whole point. His prediction is that the second more challengers show up, the inn's business will skyrocket on its own, and you're not buying it one bit. You shut them down fast, saying this crowd is here because of our success, and the real wave is still coming. Confused as ever, Lucas freezes in place, totally out of it, and keeps repeating the words with every new wave. Our boy tells everyone the prize isn't just silver, it's pure silver, and the moment that hits the air, a full-on gold rush explodes. Lucas's mind is getting absolutely fried. He can't even wrap his head around the fact that you set up a second, greed-fueled stampede just like that. In his head, he's basically like, yep, he's smart, because Lucas totally gets the two-wave strategy. So he kicks back and tells Lucas to roll the dice, lay out his own predictions. Lucas gets all rattled and buzzing with excitement, like he's about to stand up and deliver a book report straight to his hero. His first move is simple. Word will hit the streets that this dungeon actually pays out with real, worth-it rewards. Then he grins and drops the bomb. There's a second factor in motion, and it's way bigger than anything we've seen so far. Asking for confirmation is the silver 100% pure because you just hand them the board to confirm. Lucas practically detonates with relief, yelling that he knew it. This is a huge deal because 100% pure silver is basically impossible to make with today's tech, so the fact it even exists is what pulls everyone in. While Hughes was thinking this dungeon was just for its intended purpose, he never once imagined Lucas would turn it into a place to level up and refine everything. With a snap of confidence, Lucas says the moment word hits the streets, people will pour in from everywhere. That's the second wave. And he's back in full worship mode, gushing over his sensei like no one's ever even dreamed up that business model before. You smirk and drop the word branding on him, and Lucas is left staring, utterly lost. Our boy lays down his two big rules. It's totally safe, and the prize is exclusive. And just like that, anybody can jump in, no waiting, no limits, an offer so irresistibly good, it basically dares every adventurer to try. Lucas just nods along, but inside his head it's non-stop. His thoughts are firing like crazy as he locks onto this branding concept. Then he snaps. What did you mean about the surrounding area being a problem? That's the one thing that's been nagging at him the whole time. And you? We're dead serious, and the dungeon's a total cakewalk. But getting there through that monster-filled forest is a nightmare. That's why the inn is genius. It's a spotless safe haven that shuts out all that brutal wilderness chaos. The light bulb clicks on, and Lucas erupts with full-on, no-mercy business euphoria like it all finally makes sense. He gets it. He asks if that's the whole reason you scouted him, and our boy just slumps back with a dead-tired, "Yep, totally wiped out." You then spots Lucas already slinging Hawk Hill-branded plates out to everyone like he totally gets it, instantly, sitting. You sit there like a king on your throne and ask about the plates. Lucas immediately panics and blurts out apologies for jumping the gun. You shut him down on the spot, telling him it's not an issue at all. Branding is literally the whole point. Lucas slams down a plate with the wild stare of a full-on zealot, and you're left shaking in pure, justified terror. Turns out this madman shelled out the cash to have them custom-made overnight, and now he's practically glowing with pride over the design. You demand where he even got this kind of money, and Lucas shrugs it off like it's nothing. He just casually admits he took out a loan. Then he leans on you hard and makes it clear his own reputation is on the line, and this venture has to succeed. And you're freaking out, dead sure this dude will snap and kill him the second the business starts going under. Later, you casually drop into intermediate formation magic while you're sitting on a toilet like it's the most normal thing in the world. Lucas is left utterly speechless, his mind reeling from the sheer casual violence of this high-level magic. With a blinding flash, you whip up a mountain of plates, and boom, you just explained it. Dungeon magic let you crank out 100 of them. Lucas grabs one and stares at the magically made merch like it's the greatest thing he's ever seen. He points out that Yu's design is a little different, but it's way more beautiful than his own rushed, clunky one. Yu just waves it off like, yeah, he only used some fancier font because he's the kind of guy who can do that stuff. Lucas can't stop gushing over the plate's craftsmanship, praising every perfect curve like it's pure art. You casually toss out that it's a universal design like it's nothing, like it's no big deal at all. That single word hits Lucas like a lightning strike, and his brain just flat out short circuits. Universal. Our boy breaks it down. It's a design anyone can grab, with rounded corners so you don't accidentally poke yourself, because even in a fantasy world, they've got safety covered. This idea rips the foundation out from under Lucas's world, and he's left completely frozen. No words, just shock. He just stands there, gripping the plate so tight his hands shake, absolutely buzzing like he's staring at pure genius. This poor guy is straight up losing it like a total fanboy over something as basic as ergonomics. You were done with it, straight up telling him get a grip already, like it was nothing more than just a plate. Then he tells Lucas, I've got big expectations for you. Go on and use them. That praise from his sensei hits Lucas so hard it feels like his soul just got kicked into another dimension. Tears streaming down his face, he swears he'll never betray that trust, and he vows to make this venture succeed, no matter what. Lucas feels it the second he senses this wild level of devotion, because the moment he asks for his next orders, the vibe turns seriously bad. His brilliant solution to shut down all that awkward hero worship, then he pushed for food like, all right, let's go eat. The story slams straight into a packed restaurant, buzzing with cheerful adventurers like it's already hit its peak. They stride right up to a ridiculously fancy door tucked at the back of the whole place. And yeah, right there is a VIP room sign. This place has everything you could possibly want. All alone in the huge, silent dining hall, Yu sits by himself at a massive table that feels painfully empty. He's practically shaking with excitement, drool dripping as steam blasts off him like some overpowered cartoon hero. Then the main course slams onto the table. One massive, glistening cliff dragon roast steak, sizzling like a feast about to explode your hunger. This kid's losing it in the best way because he's about to take a bite of real dragon. This steak is sizzling like it's on fire, the juices and sauce popping and crackling with a sound so divine it almost feels illegal. You slices into the meat, and it's so unbelievably tender that the juices rush out on the spot. His whole body just short-circuited for a split second, burning with pure anticipation for this meal. He finally raises that perfect piece, straight up the food of his dreams, after getting trapped in another world. Which hits even harder when you remember he survived for 200 days by turning magic into pure energy with. Tears blur his eyes as he finally manages to say a real thank you for the food. Then he digs in without wasting a second. He takes that first glorious bite, and it's like the whole world freezes for a heartbeat. Then, boom, the flavor hits so hard it detonates in his mouth. Our boy breaks out in tears, pure, unfiltered joy, completely slammed by the taste. He's practically zooming across the room, yelling at the top of his lungs that the garlic sauce is the perfect match. Even Lucas can't hold it together. He's totally unraveling, blabbering about how tender the dragon meat is. In a full-on food frenzy, you jab your knife at Lucas and demand he bring more, right now. Lucas is left totally speechless by the order, while you're just floating in pure, juicy bliss. Then he faceplants straight onto the table. Turns out a steak is a whole lot when you've been starving for half a year. 2 weeks later, a cloaked stranger sneaks into the shadows and studies the whole area around Hawk Hill. This is our first ever dungeon run, and when he stares at everything in front of him, pure confusion lights up his face. He realizes the crowd camping outside for free has suddenly vanished, and the numbers are way down. Turns out, while everyone eyed the inn like it might bite, a few fearless people still took the plunge. And now the news is blazing through the streets. Everyone's buzzing about that steam bath. They just threw their hands over their faces, realizing he missed every single bit of the good stuff. Ours finally clicks that this whole scheme is a trap built to reel adventurers into the dungeon's money-making machine. He's also scrambling to figure out who Lucas is, this weirdly unstoppable merchant who basically popped out of thin air. A talented businessman like that should have been famous for years, but the world acts like he doesn't even exist because nobody's ever heard his name. He shakes it off, locks onto the real problem, and demands to know what the hell he's supposed to do now. A sudden memory hits. 2 other people finally cleared the beginner level just a few days back, and I can still hear it in my head. And for that perfectly clear shot, he earned legendary 100% pure silver, the very reason all this chaos started in the first place. That one prize yanked in a storm of offers, merchants and researchers alike crowding around him, begging for the impossible medal. Those 3 ingots turned into 1,200 silver coins, pure, life-changing money. A payday so huge, it practically blew the roof off. But there's a catch. Right when he thought he had it, the beginner stage suddenly spiked in difficulty, and now he can't get through it. Now he can't stop asking himself, does he need to totally remake his plan if he wants to win again? First, he relied on straight-up memorization, trying to drill the 10-ish trapped patterns he'd already pinpointed. That genius plan just face-planted, again and again, every single time, because of course it would. So he changed strategies, carving out a 30-meter stretch of grass and training his step for distance while blindfolded. He wanted the trap location burned into his memory, so no floor markings, no tricks would ever fool him. That move mostly turned him into a bull in a china shop, smashing right into other challengers, an epic faceplant for a first champion. But after 14 brutal tries with this same method, he finally clawed his way through the dungeon again. The very next day, he raced back, only to discover the trouble had surged again. Now the board drops red and blue tiles. Red always spells trouble, but blue isn't always safe either. It can snap into an asterisk trap just to screw with you. With his blindfolded plan now totally dead, he's about to throw in the towel for good. After 100 more crushing fails, he's been trapped for 3 whole days. Ideas are completely gone. We're fuming over the other 2 winners, convinced they only pulled it off because they were desperate after 100 tries. While he's sulking on a rock, a squad of adventurers comes barreling toward him. He's just trying to brood in peace when he spots them loitering nearby. That cocky guy struts up with his two buddies, shocked as hell to find a rich guy like you camping out. He just stares up like nothing's left in him and bluntly asks them, "So, what do you want?" This trio towers over him, eyes locked on the dungeon's first champion, like they've come hunting for answers. Their leader, a spiky-haired menace, keeps grinning like an idiot, still stunned that the legendary RS is actually throwing hands and roughing it here. Our guy isn't buying it. He clocked that everyone's laughing it up, and meanwhile, he's stuck in his own misery. Then he starts bragging up a storm, saying he sold his silver reward for 3 whole gold coins. This hits harder than anything. He just walked away with a massive payday, which means the price is getting absolutely crushed. He still remembers when his first ingot paid a clean 12 gold coins, but now the price is free-falling like it's dropped off a cliff. Just like he'd feared, more winners kept rolling in, and pure silver flooded the market. The spiky-haired guy fires off his pitch, team-up, and pass the intel back and forth. His genius plan is simple. They'll merge their one-time clear insights and crack the second run. Ours just glares, and the truth hits. This guy is just as trapped and furious as he is. He's stuck replaying every other adventurer who ever tried to pry information out of him. His rule was simple: swap info only for something just as valuable. But turns out, nobody had anything worth trading. So he shuts that guy down instantly, flat out telling him there's no shared gain here, not even a little. This dude's buddies blow up, sneering that our first real win was probably just a fluke. And the leader snaps right back. "That's exactly why everyone calls me Stingy R. My reputation's earned." That spiky-haired brat yells that we're a hypocrite for keeping our secrets from the other adventurers. He totally loses it, screaming that we're only trying to show off, like beating the dungeon alone is just for attention. Brooding, he mutters that the legendary adventurer's nothing but a small-minded jerk, and it's crushing his hope. Ours just locks eyes with him, cold, dead, and silent, like, "Don't you dare let that ego swell too much." That icy glare hits him like a punch. His ego takes a hard blow, and he shuts up instantly. Naturally, his next play is to shout for his buddies to swarm us and beat him up like that's diplomacy. Oh, A whole mob of guys, armed with makeshift weapons, closes in fast, like they're seconds away from throwing down. Ours stays calm, clocks the danger fast, 6 of them, and realizes he was leaving anyway. His hand clamps around his sword as he realizes this could be the perfect moment to finally let it all out. Then he steps up in front of everyone and dares the whole group, promising to show them what a real special-grade adventure is all about. This so-called leader snaps and roars, "Shut up!" totally losing his cool with the confidence pouring out of them. With a battle cry, they come charging at us like a storm, while our crew just stands there, unfazed. One of the goons slams a club down like a tree crashing to the ground. He dodges that clumsy swing like it's nothing, and the dude flails through empty air. He steamrolled right past the first attacker without breaking a sweat. Pure, unfiltered boredom drips off his face, like this whole thing is barely a warm-up. This leader blazes with panic and snaps orders for his crew to swarm around him and pin him down with a truly brilliant plan. One of the big guys lunges in from behind and snatches at him, grinning like he just pulled off the perfect move. But he just drops his foot into place, grinning like he's about to nail that incoming goon with a nasty little surprise. With one clean leg sweep, he drops the guy in mid-stride, tumbling head over heels. So much for that plan. This goon stumbles to his feet and scrambles back up, yelling that you can't underestimate him. Too late, buddy. Before he even finds his footing, our guy is already snapping in, closing the gap for the next takedown. And he just casually slams a fist straight into the guy's face. No warning, no hesitation, 0 ceremony. Another brute comes swinging a club like a thunderbolt, but our guy slips under it, smooth, calm, like the whole world slowed to a crawl. Now they're whining that he's too small to hit, using it as the freshest excuse for how they can't fight at all. He just flicks his hand and shrugs off their pathetic little threat like it's nothing. Their leader's brilliant plan collapses in a spectacular mess, and panic starts to rattle him for real. Without even glancing back, he blasts another goon out of the way with a savage hit. Somehow, it just happens. He even flashes a smile, like he's daring himself to admit he might have gone a bit too far. One more thug gets sent flying sky high from a single pinpoint punch. This spiky-haired leader just stands there, glued to the horror as his entire crew gets torn apart. Then his mind finally snaps. Rage is boiling in him as he tears into ours, screaming that they got way too cocky. Meanwhile, over in a totally different corner of the story, Yu's just chilling, hanging out with his skeleton buddy. His bony friend points out that those brand new clothes have the boss in a way better mood. You say you can finally hit that restaurant at last, but your stomach still feels weird and queasy. As he strolls through the dungeon, he suddenly freezes. His ears catch something sneaking out from a side passage. Inside, two skeletons stare at a monitor like they're guarding the controls of a tense command room. You told them to show him what was happening on the surface, and his curiosity wouldn't let up as he leaned in to see why the commotion started. His eyes blow wide with shock as he tells his skeleton buddy Lionel, "Come on, check it out!" On the screen, they spot us, right in the thick of that same brawl, absolutely smashing those adventurers into the ground. Lionel flashes the 6-on-1 odds and challenges the boss, basically asking, "So, should I go teach them a lesson?" With a dead serious face, you shut him down and tell him it's not guys at all. It's just 6. Up on the surface, the goons are sure they've got us trapped. Surround him and it's over, they think. But ours just dares them to stare as he casually flings everyone aside like they don't even matter. Right then, mind-blowing magic circles start popping into existence all around him, and he slams his fist into the ground and detonates a spell that fractures the earth itself. Down in the control room, you and Lionel are totally losing it as the Iron Gauntlet spell starts taking over. You want to jump right in, but Lionel cuts it off fast. He says he just doesn't have the knack for it. This kicks our boy into a full-blown tantrum, screaming at the world about his lame, trap-based powers. Lionel snaps him back to reality and points out the terrifying truth. That other guy is casting a spell, too. This spiky-haired leader is frantically flashing hand signs, setting up a brutal counterattack. He's pouring every ounce of focus into this last make-or-break gambit. He slams his hand forward and blasts out a massive lightning surge, ripping through the air with another crushing mid-tier spell. Yu's totally starstruck, freaking out and geeking over the badass-sounding Raiden attack. He's desperate to master that asterisk 1-2, but every time he tries, he gets shut down again, because he still doesn't have the right affinity. And there he goes again, whining non-stop, demanding that his dungeon core, Kao-chan, hand over attack magic. Kao-chan pops up and hits him with the worst news ever. He's got 0 offensive spells left. Ouch. She then blurts out, "Was my delivery too cold?" And that's straight-up emotional damage at a whole other level as, with Kao-chan's sign in the background, Lionel steps in, trying to comfort you when you're utterly crushed and done for. Meanwhile, the brawl's already done. R stands over the punk leader, victorious. R towers over the punk leader, who's down on the ground, chewing dirt and wishing he'd never made a single life choice. Downstairs, you're freaking out over the lightning, and Lionel cuts in, saying we used an item to dodge the blast. You can literally take a lightning blast straight to the face, shrug it off, and suddenly realize this special great adventurer is absolutely unhinged. Lionel leans in, smug as anything, and reminds you he warned you not to underestimate that guy. Yeah, the classic, "I told you so." Swarming around his chibis, they figure that if ours gets stuck, he'll throw in the towel, then vanish in a few days. And they're right. Our people are already thinking, if there's no more profit, then it's time to shut it down and head home. That's a brilliant, terrible idea. Time to crack open the beginner's second dungeon and keep his brand new toy close. A little skeleton in shades pops up, basically screaming, "Yeah, this is the coolest. What a responsible call." Lionel isn't buying that cool guy act. He stares you down and snaps. "Are you really sure about this?" You're just pouting like it's no big deal. Then he's about to unleash that thing, and you're about to realize why it matters. His bony buddy instantly panics and screams that it's a massive monodrain, but Yu just smirks and laughs it off with his 3 million points. With a dramatic fist pump, he blasts the second dungeon open, and Lionel quietly cringes on the inside. The skeleton crew instantly jumps on the job, ready to carry out the boss's wildly sketchy new plan, no trekking required, supposedly. A second later, that tiny stick figure skeleton rockets back, delivering the report straight to the boss, while two other skeletons start whispering and gossiping like they've got front row seats because dungeon life never, ever slows down. This messenger rushes in to warn of a grave situation, like it's the end of the world, even though it probably isn't. You deadpan for a second, then it hits you. This is a report pulled straight from the demon tribe's room. Then he totally freezes. His skeleton blurts out, "Boss, did you seriously forget already?" Lionel totally snaps. Then it hits him hard. The demon kid he saved. How could he ever forget that? Flustered, you swear he's got it all straight. He totally remembers telling everyone to shut up before they even dared call him out on it. You finally blurt out, "What's going on with that demon kid?" Because he looks totally checked out, like none of it matters. Lionel finally clocks it. The kid who'd been out cold the entire time just jolted awake. So you start asking yourself, how long was she really out for? Because it's obvious she completely lost track of time. Lionel smirks like he owns the world, insisting that from his point of view, it felt like no time passed at all, thanks to Bone Dad. Meanwhile, in the demon kid's room, you can feel it. Someone's definitely starting to stir. Peeking around the corner, you swallow hard and confirm it. The demon kid is awake, moving, and officially out and about. She lets out this huge yawn, completely clueless to the skeletons peeking right from her doorway. The demon girl stretches out, bragging about her long nap, while in the background, you're totally losing your mind. Her eyes jerk open. Something is off, and she can feel it instantly. The moment she wakes up, her first thought screams, "I'm starving!" And of course, that hits at the worst possible time for poor, flustered Yu. She asks if he's even listening, and our guy is so locked in that he's fighting to keep from exploding on the spot. He waves her off and barks for her to shut up the second she wakes up. Peak hospitality right there. She just stares back, completely lost, like, what is going on? As his outburst crashes into her and she can't even tell what he's talking about. Our boy's eyes pop wide as he blurts, stuttering that she must have shot up nearly 30 centimeters since he last laid eyes on her. And it's not only her height that exploded upward with a massive growth spurt. She even makes sure he gets the message her body has grown up a lot too, just in case he somehow missed it. This new piece of intel hits you like a shockwave, and panic starts rattling through your whole body. So she just hauls off and slams him down, screaming that he's way too loud and that sleeping kids grow like it's basic biology, genius. He's sprawled on the floor, totally stunned, while his skeleton buddy peeks out like, "You good there, boss?" Leaning in close, she tells him again and again that kids who sleep a ton grow bigger, like he's 5 and she's explaining it from scratch. She glares him down, basically screaming, "Shut up!" And the gratitude hits so hard it feels like it could swallow her whole. You were hit with a full system crash, yelling that you'd turned into a giant old man, except, wait, you hadn't. She then tries to claim Takyaka Yu as his name, but he cuts in. That's literally my own name. She strikes a dramatic pose, groans that she saved a boy who turned out to be a girl, and then, like the universe itself makes sense, admits she's starving. Her boyfriend is having none of it. He's yelling at her to shut up while she's screaming back that she's starving. And she keeps yelling it again and again because if she won't stop, she gets what she wants. Not long after, she finally digs in, cheeks lighting up as she tears through her food like she's been starving for days. Turns out you just rolled in with takeout for her and a few random clothes from a general store. Peak Dungeon Master hospitality. We finally learn her name, Miria, and the sudden growth doesn't even feel weird because, yeah, she's technically an adult. "You're totally done, right?" He tells her, "Fine, but you're paying later," because she already owes him big time. Miria just stares with their whole mouth wide open, asking what money even is. Yeah, oh boy, this is about to get wild. Well, then she drops right onto his head and tries to guilt trip him, forcing him to see why a beautiful girl shouldn't have to pay him back. But Yu's totally immune. She shuts him down on the spot, calling her rough talk and his whole different species thing a total turnoff. That lands like a punch. She blinks in disbelief and straight up asks if he's really got zero attraction to her at all. His deadpan stare says everything. She doesn't even have to ask, because it shuts her down cold. He backpedaled, admitting he's probably a little interested, but she's left completely baffled by how zero energy he brings. After thinking for a beat, a spark hits you, and you let out a tiny, ah, like it all just clicked. Mariah, locking in on what matters, fires off, "Where's your house?" while they're still mid-chew. That awkward silence afterwards says it all. Our dungeon master doesn't have a home at all. So he offers to drive her straight back to her terrifying dad, but her icy silence screams, that's not happening either. You snatched her out of danger, and now in your dungeon, you'll have to work your guts out just to get food. Miriath's thoughts slam onto his choice of words. My dungeon. She clicks the clues into place and blurts, "Wait, are you a dungeon master?" And he just shrugs, casually confirming it like it's no big deal. Mariah's jaw drops. She's practically vibrating with excitement, saying she's never, ever met a dungeon master before. She keeps calling him cool, and it totally throws him off, like he's never heard that in his life, and the fluster hits hard. Her praise hits like a spark, and he's instantly blushing while she rambles in pure fangirl mode about how he controls everything. He tries to play it cool, but Lionel just delivers a deadpan reality check, acting like the boss is way too easy to flatter. Now that Miri is officially a fan, she barges in and immediately demands a full, grand tour of the entire place. You smugly warn her not to get lost, and right on cue, Lionel snaps back that he's just a total pushover. This first stop slams you into a massive, high-tech command center run by skeletons. Miria can't even find the words. He just soaks it all in, chest puffed with pride, soaking up every bit of his insanely impressive setup. Meanwhile, two skeleton workers are just whispering non-stop, trading rumors about what in the world is happening. Lionel tells Miria the boss loves this kind of wasteful spending, and Miria shuts that claim down hard, denies it. Miria's eyes snap to a massive screen, and she jabs a finger at it, demanding to know what in the world it is. He tells them it's a live dungeon map, showing where the challengers are in the building, in broad strokes. She thinks you're talking about adventurers, but you cut in and make it crystal clear this isn't only for them. Then he drops the bombshell. Turns out even merchants have somehow managed to clear his dungeon. That news absolutely fries Miria's brain. Merchants clearing a dungeon? Nobody's ever heard of it. You told her, it's way easier to show than to explain. And you promised her there's truly no real danger. She's still reeling from that merchant mess, while Lionel brushes off his boss's methods as if unconventional is the understatement of the century. You laid down the rules to Miria, warning her that if she was going to sponge off him, she'd better be ready to live by his terms. Then he spots the teleportation panel and casually mentions the entrance fee, 1 silver coin. Totally reasonable. Myriad immediately starts yelling that she's broke, but you couldn't care less about her money troubles. With a face carved from pure indifference, he shrugs and flat out says he's not here to shake down the panelists. He snaps at her to get moving, then turns away, crushing her with that icy silence like it's the final blow. Her mood swings like lightning. One second she's cheerful, the next she's sprinting off toward the dungeon, and you're left utterly stunned and speechless. Smirking as he waved you off, he was 100% sure he'd just crushed his freeloader problem for good. But this is all a trap. The system is wired for petty revenge, so she's not really going anywhere. Our guy cracks up at his skeleton, smugly swearing she'll be back before long, like his traps had everything under control. Suddenly you're like, wait, this can't be right, because she's strolling through like it's nothing, sipping on her drink, and the whole thing feels way too easy for her. His skeleton crew loses it completely, screaming that she just waltzed through and wiped out the whole thing like it was nothing. Miria shoots a quick look back, all baffled, and blurts out that she can spot every trap location crystal clear. A chill skeleton burrows in a pot, and right in the middle of it rants about how insane it is that humans actually enjoy traps this basic. Yu turns to Lionel for confirmation, but his bony friend just stares back like he's totally fed up with this whole mess. And then our boy breaks it down. He explains how he can spot every single trap the moment they're set. Miria casually drops the truth like it's nothing. That's just how magic flows. This ability lets her peer into the dungeon's whole magical nervous system, so every trap becomes completely useless. His brain just blue screens. He's got zero clue what she's even talking about. Miria just locks eyes with him and bluntly asks, like straight to his face, if he's an idiot, because the disrespect here is straight up unreal. So take a deep breath, remind yourself you're the mature adult here, and yeah, sure, buddy. Yu grabs her by the face and demands a full, painful explanation of how this magic-seeing ability works, no details left out. She lays it all out for him with a tiny diagram, then hits him with the question, how could a trap even catch someone while they're still floating in midair? With pure smugness, he grins and tells everyone he just stretched the trap's activation range up into the sky then. But Miria blows him off in a brutal roast for laying traps without even getting the fundamentals behind how they work. She points straight at the activation field, right there in the middle of that magical aura. No doubt about it, it's the dead giveaway. And once you can see it, you don't have to memorize a thing, you can just stroll right through. You break into a cold sweat, convinced this has to be some demon-level exclusive power. That shocking truth detonates in his mind. He panics on the spot, yells that he has to rip up and redesign every trap right now. Outside, one of our own comes sprinting up, yelling that something truly awful just happened. He's just standing over the punks he knocked down, acting like it's nothing, like he wasn't even serious. But then his friend cuts in and makes it clear, this isn't the real issue at all, because the actual emergency is something way bigger. A completely baffled R just blurts, "What the heck are you even talking about now?" This dude jabs a finger like a spotlight hit him, yelling that a brand new dungeon just popped open out of nowhere, and sure enough, right between that restaurant and the store, a brand new entrance hides in the alley, just waiting to be found. They suddenly realized the entire area had blown up in size, and his companion went totally blank, completely stunned. Everyone stares in total disbelief, like how in the world did this space just pop into existence? His friend chimes in that it all went down in dead silence, no noise at all, and that's seriously creepy. Suddenly, everyone's eyes snap to something lurking just off to the side. He spots the old sign for the original Beginner's First Dungeon still hanging there, like it never vanished. And right there, right next to it, a brand new sign pops up for the Beginner's Second Dungeon. He's already got a throbbing headache, and he keeps grumbling that this dungeon somehow always tops anything he thought it could do. He shakes it off fast, squares his shoulders and stands tall, ready to bulldoze whatever this new twist throws at him. A crowd's already packed at the new entrance, and someone's pushing through the bodies, desperate to reach him. Rumors ignite like wildfire, and the next second, the whole town erupts, screaming that the legendary adventure Rs is finally here. This whole crowd is vibrating with one question. Is he really here to throw down with the brand new dungeon that... That's when a gruff, high-ranking adventurer named Bogart strides up and asks if we're interested too. Ours blurts out the question, did Bogart ever clear the first asterisk beginner dungeon? And it totally catches the big guy off guard. Then it hits him. He's never once heard a single rumor about some high ranker like him ever clearing it. While everything goes down up front, other adventurers kick back and celebrate in the background because they're smart enough to keep their own clears safe from any secrets. Turns out he's been so locked in on his own grind that the moment he finally noticed us, he's only just reached level 2. Bogart shrugs it off and leans in, desperate to hear what you think about this brand new second course. A big sign slams down the new rules. 2 beginner courses are already open, and an advanced one is on the way soon. It even slaps on a reassuring warning that there's 0 danger to your life, so yeah, totally not suspicious at all. Bogart clocks that the rules don't match the first dungeon, and he can't help but stare at that weird 5-person party limit. Ours is wondering if every party's going to spawn in the same spot, but he quickly admits he has zero clue. Bogart flashes a confident grin, lifts a coin to the light, and declares, "There's one super simple way to know for sure." That blunt, no-mess tactic absolutely dazzles our boyars. He just smirks back and nods along, agreeing to the plan with zero hesitation. They sealed it with a fist bump, Bogart absolutely bursting with hype for a once-in-a-lifetime team-up with the best of the best. This crowd is already buzzing, wagering they'll wipe it out in seconds and itching to find out what the prize is. Bogart is totally entertained, watching how fired up ours is, while he just smirks with calm, rock-solid confidence. They stride up to the entrance, just a plain brick wall with a slot carved in for the entry fee. Bogart doesn't hesitate. He slides his coin into the machine and pays his way in. Ars flashes the signal and tells Bogart, "All right, time to go inside." And Bogart is roaring with raw excitement, buzzing and ready for whatever's about to hit next. Ours followed right behind, tossed in his own coin and locked in the party entry. He's already convinced the second dungeon name is a total joke, bracing for round 2 of pure nonsense. But then it hits him. His first dungeon was already overflowing with stuff that should have been impossible. So he steels himself, ready to take on whatever this wild new course dares to throw at them. With a brutal burst of light, he's yanked through the air and dumped into a pitch-black, dead-quiet void. Bogart drops right beside him, utterly lost, snapping, "Where the hell are we?" Ours confirms it. Both of them were teleported to the exact same spot, and that slams one of their earlier questions shut. The first thing they realize is how terrifyingly silent the room is. No sound at all, just pure dread. Just from the way the air swirls, we can tell this is a giant open space ahead. Right then, a system message blasted onto the screen. Dungeon time! And it even dangled an escape route if they dared to step out of the light. Then it hits you again with that warm, comforting warning. Don't worry, because there's zero chance their lives are on the line. These rules spell it out. If a failure monster attack traps you and you end up falling, you're gone instantly. So that's why we're all staring at the monsters like, "Wait, who's next?" They both snap to a stop and instantly agree. This isn't even close to a regular Dungeons rulebook. Then comes the real bombshell. On a team, if one person messes up, the whole crew gets kicked out, under that asterisk. This system tells them they can only step onto glowing paths, yet they're free to fly anywhere, and Bogart looks totally hooked by the attack. So just tell it how you want. Bogart's eating it up. He's grinning like crazy because attack however you want rule is exactly his kind of perfect. Then the system finally drops the payoff for all that trouble. A single, shiny gold coin. We immediately swat the idea away, laughing, because one coin is a joke, so pathetic it isn't even worth the trouble. But right when he thinks it's over, the system slams in a crucial metritation that changes everything. Then it hits. If nobody clears the dungeon, the prize money doesn't stop. It stacks and spills over to the next day. Both. They're both totally stunned, blurting out, "What does that even mean?" This system spits out the odds. 10 days for 10 gold, then a whole 100 days for 100 gold, then boom, it turns into a jackpot dungeon. That twist blows every expectation apart, and the prize they might win is downright insane. For now, the system confirms it. Right now, your reward is only that single, lonely gold coin. They just freeze in stunned silence, trying to wrap their heads around this insanely wild new mechanic. Bars wastes no time. He starts plotting from the moment the plan drops, locking in the perfect play. Wait 10 days, then cash out big. Bogart just snorts at it like, "No way, there's absolutely no chance that would ever work." And ours has to admit it. Adventurers are so damn greedy, they'd rather fight than team up for a bigger payout. Bogart thinks snagging a gold coin a day is still a steal, but he can't shake the feeling things will get brutal the moment the first clear hits. Buying into that logic, our crew decides to dip their toes in right now. Bogart's walking around with total confidence, convinced that a 5-person team should turn this into a dead simple win. But our crew is still stuck on that joint responsibility rule, convinced it's the real trap waiting to spring. With pure determination in his chest, he straight up declares it's time to move, no waiting. The second he steps out of the spotlight, the glow spreads and pathways ignite across a massive, dark chasm. They just stand there, dumbstruck, staring into the distance as the true size of this new nightmare hits them all at once. Bogart stands there with his arms crossed, already looking completely bored by the whole dark void nightmare. Gazing down at the glowing pathways, he blurts out how insanely huge this place is. Ours nods and says the gap is way more than a kilometer across, like it's nothing. Then his focus snaps to the side as he calmly tells them, "We've got enemies coming." Our boy looks way more fascinated than scared, and trust me, that's the best sign you could ever hope for. And the moment they step in, their first enemies turn out to be this adorable squad of rock potato golems. A quick rundown makes it crystal clear, these aren't alive at all, just monsters whipped into motion by raw, pure magic. One of them even jabs a finger at a path on the right, smiling like it's a helpful suggestion, except it absolutely feels like a trap. Bogart's about to start smashing everything in sight, and our crew nods like, yeah, this is exactly the best move. But right as they're about to move, our eyes snag a bizarre detail that makes everything feel wrong. As Bogart charges in like a runaway freight train, R catches sight of something on the golem's hand. A closer look cuts through the chaos. There's a symbol carved into its rocky palm. He snaps back in shock. This is a teleport character, a one-touch escape button. Carr yells a warning at Bogart. If that thing touches him, both of them are getting booted out. The big guy looks totally shocked as the golem's hand clamps down, closing in for the tag. Clenching his teeth, Bogart desperately twists his whole body trying to slip out of the blow. Even the golem looks stunned by how fast he hits the move, like his high-ranked reflexes are on a whole other level. He barely slips the strike, then snaps his axe around in a thunderous counterswing. With a thunderous roar, Bogart digs deep and cleaves the monster's arm clean off in one brutal swing. The axe slams home with a brutal crunch, and the golem's limb explodes into 1,000 shattered pieces. That goal in Bogart got obliterated on impact, smashing into a cloud of dust instantly. He grunts as his one-shot takedown lands clean, and you can tell it makes him feel unstoppable. Even ours can't help but look at that raw, jaw-dropping power and go, whoa. Bogart keeps grumbling, calling Golem an absolute nightmare, shaking his head even though the thing just got obliterated. Ours just snaps at him for acting so reckless, like it was only some lowly golem. This trail is way too tight to gamble getting caught by those instant eject hands, because one tag and you're out. So our boy decides to ditch the old plan and summons a magic circle. Magic explodes from his hand, blasting straight toward the cluster of rock potatoes. But it just blasts a tiny smoking hole straight through one of them, and that's about it. Ours confirms his theory. Magic is the safest way to deal with all this. Bogart just glances up, eyes locked ahead, holding his breath for the next game plan to hit. Bogart cooks up this simple play. He drags them in, and then our crew uses magic to cut them down, one by one. Bogart flashed a grin and instantly started jawing at the rock monsters, pulling their rage straight onto him. He just slips past their sloppy swings like it's nothing, dangling the perfect bait to lure them in. Instead of going in for the smash, he just flicks it aside with the flat of his axe, launching the little guy straight into our line of fire. It's already there, firing off another razor-precise magic shot like it's been waiting for you. His spell latches on perfectly and smashes straight into the airborne golem. No dodge, just a dead-on hit. The blow slams the monster off the bright glowing path and it tumbles straight into the abyss. Bogart bursts into a victory roar, shouting that one monster is finally down for good. We're completely in, locked in on this plan and ready to keep the momentum roaring. So Bogart doesn't waste a second. He swings again and launches another golem straight into the air. And right now, ours is already there. Magic circles are whirling, setting up the perfect shot. His spell shot like a spear, slicing straight through the flying rock potato with deadly pinpoint precision. He shoved another one, and it tumbled helplessly off the glowing path into the endless void below. Bogart whips his gaze back over his shoulder, genuinely blown away by how perfectly their little system is running. Then boom, a golem crowds way too close to ours, and now it's clear he's in the splash zone. He realizes his sword is basically helpless here, since it's built for cutting, not for smashing through rock. So he rockets backward, desperate to put some space between himself and that lumbering monster. Right when Bogart comes swooping in, he slams that massive axe down and intercepts the golem before it can move. Ours slips to safety, then watches his partner muscle through the heavy work without flinching. This golem throws a wild swing, and Bogart is already braced, ready to meet it head-on. Ours just smirks, convinced that no matter what happens, there's still nothing more than monsters at the end of the day. And Bogart seals it on the spot. He wipes the golem out with one razor-sharp swing. Bogart barks into the void, shouting at the one standing alone on that skinny ledge, like he's trying to pull them back. He flashed a thumbs up and told him it was some damn good bait, an honest-to-God compliment that landed hard. Back together again, Bogart finally confesses he'd clocked our timing the whole time, down to every shot. With a cocky grin, he declares it's time to move on, totally oblivious to the little shadow creeping up behind him. Even one of the rock potatoes feels it. Something's seriously off, and it can tell. And our boy finally swings around, totally blindsided by something that just crept up on him out of nowhere. That tiny shadow's a whole other golem, and it's charging straight for us without slowing down. It rockets forward, that teleporting hand snapping out to grab the one-touch party wipe. Ours barely gets a weight out before the golem's palm smashes into contact and, with a tiny, cute little asterisk, poof, asterisk, boom, the game is officially slammed shut on our heroes. Suddenly, he's back at a desk in a blinding bright room, staring around like his mind can't catch up. Meanwhile, two other adventurers stared at the monitor and double-checked it. Our guy and Bogart had failed, and honestly, they weren't even that surprised. Slumped back in his chair, the kid can't help but wonder, why would a high ranker like Bogart team up with him? He realizes Bogart's gut is right. Two totally opposite personalities could click as a perfect team, so he marches straight to his boss. Turns out his boss is a skeleton, and it nonchalantly asks whether the dungeon's reward is really worth all the hype. Our boy whips around, demands what he's talking about, and blurts out, "Lionel!" And just like that, the skeleton gets a name. Myra, the new girl, snaps that the jackpot only spins for real if people keep paying to play every single day. But we're not sweating it. Our crew swears the first dungeon's pulling in enough cash right now to cover every cost. Lionel the skeleton jumps in, saying the longer this drags on, the bigger their profits grow. This system is built to make adventurers' mouths water at a monstrous jackpot, like a cool 100 gold coins. When we crunch the numbers, it's brutal. Our 1 coin a day profit barely scrapes the surface and doesn't even cover their expenses. He's got a real scheme. Let the prize money pile up, grind to get stronger, and then claim it all himself. To make this whole plan work, you've got to nail the difficulty. Perfect, down to the last detail. Because once the prize gets too huge in these games, a top-tier player slides in out of nowhere and wrecks the fun for everybody. He's trying to make it look totally winnable for everyone else, but deep down, he's rigging it so only he can actually beat it. Lionel lays it all out and says the whole system runs on a lottery. Then he stops and asks, "So, what's a lottery?" Ours tries to break down how a lottery works, but Lionel the skeleton is so done with it, he's bored out of his skull. This whole scheme lives or dies on one thing: getting the golem's power tuned perfectly, strong enough to stop everyone else, but still beatable by him. Lionel praises our bottomless magic, then instantly corrects the record and says, no, it really does have a bottom. Turns out, our guy didn't just stumble on them, he built those rock potato golems himself, using a brand new spell he just unlocked. He can even crank out more skeletons like Lionel, but building a full army costs a fortune for now. So for now, it's sit back and watch those adventurers storm the dungeon, then wait for his own power to finally start growing. Hours wasted no time, grilling Lionel for the exact magic price it takes to keep those golems running. And Lionel is eating up the fact that his boss is suddenly getting a legendary mage reputation. Because even the top military mages can only summon one of these, while our side is mass-producing them by the thousands. And then Lionel drops the bombshell. He's already built his own squad, the White Bone Knights. One of the skeleton minions pops up out of nowhere and declares, with zero shame, that their team name is insanely awesome. Myra's absolutely losing it. She's shouting that the name is not just cool, it's freakishly awesome. But ours? Not impressed at all, thinking, Myra's acting way too hyped for someone so simple-minded. He shrugs the whole thing off with a lazy, whatever, clearly acting like he has no clue how excited everyone is. Alright, that's done. Now we rip straight into the next move, getting the third dungeon ready. Howers tells Lionel they've got to do that thing tonight to get ready, and Myra is left totally clueless. Myra wastes no time. She immediately starts badgering them, pressing for answers, and demanding to know what that thing even is. Howers just cuts her off and snaps that kids don't need to know. Then boom, Myra blows up. Then he drops the truth like a mic drop. Adults don't get loud just because they're hungry. That's straight up next level trolling. And that's when Myra snaps. She starts wailing and goes on him while he begs her to stop. Howers dives to the ground, shouting that Myra's punches are deadly and she needs to stop right now. She just lets out a tired sigh, baffled at why he's getting so worked up over a small little tap from a girl like her. Our boy's hands go clammy as the truth hits. Her power could force every buried secret from his past to spill straight to the skeletons. So he bursts into motion, shouting at Myra to not run while he's the one tearing out of there like his life depends on it. Myra yells after him, furious, because she already mapped out her room layout, so of course he ditches anyway. As he sprints, his thoughts spiral out of control, and every beat screams that he's one step away from tumbling into an endless void of paranoia. Wading through a twisted mental maze, he decides, no way, no how, his memories are staying locked up tight. And right then he starts losing his mind over how insanely useful her power would be for cracking spies and criminals. So he, after a tense, dramatic pause, they just shrug it off with a casual, whatever, then hit pause on the whole issue, for now. In the silence of his training cave, he shuts it down, deciding he doesn't need her power at all and will just lock in on his daily grind. He gets all fired up, admitting he genuinely loves his daily sparring sessions with Lionel and the rest of the crew. And that daily grind turns out to be road maintenance of all things. Meanwhile, inside a glittering mansion, a rich hotshot is losing it, screaming at someone like they're the worst failure he's ever seen. This lord is absolutely livid. His people still haven't managed to track down that demon girl. He even hurls a fork straight at one of his knights to make the message hit like a hammer, because that's what a real leader does. Tonight, Captain Brandy can only drop to his knees and beg forgiveness for utterly blowing the mission. A flashback snaps open as a captured bandit snarls that regular soldiers ambushed them right during their escort mission. Turns out, they didn't just attack the escort, they got themselves captured too, and that's when everything went sideways. But here's the real gut punch. Myra is still gone, and we watch those same thugs yank her away like she's nothing. This lord is still losing his mind, screaming at the top of his lungs, refusing to accept that his target could have just disappeared. Captain Brandy can only choke out an apology, scrambling to explain everything to his rock-solid, no-nonsense boss. With a furious groan, the lord grabs his head, absolutely steaming at how hopelessly incompetent everyone's being. So he barks at the guy to track down the dungeon she's trapped in and bring it back. No delays. Brandy's has to break the worst news. There isn't a single sighting of the demon girl anywhere. This lord starts throwing out theories, praying the forest wild dogs just had her for dinner. He figures that if someone's running into the woods, they'd usually duck into a dungeon, but she's nowhere to be found. Brandy's gets tossed out in a hurry, looking like he's sprinting away before another fork can come flying in from the next twist. Outside, his smug vice captain leans in and quizzes him, like, "So, did you actually survive that meeting?" Then he lifts the bloody cloth from Brandy's head and smirks, asking if this is what he calls surviving. Brandy drops into his hands like he can't breathe, groaning that a pig is running the whole show. His vice captain just smiles, cheerfully telling him to stop calling the nobility pigs. Meanwhile, Brandy's isn't even paying attention. Storming off as vice captain just reveals one brutal truth. Nearly everyone despises the Lord and can't wait to rip him out and take him down. He even calls out that the Lord has no real duties, but Brandy's already crushed by stress, so none of it lands. Brandy clocks this loudmouth as a possible future son-in-law, but yeah, he isn't wrong. Still, they're just hired soldiers, nothing more. The story snaps to Runefort, a fortress city ringed in walls, caught from a hill nearby like you're spying on a secret. Those towering walls are built to slam shut the door on every enemy that dares to come inside. Runefort is the territory's beating heart, a bustling city that everyone funnels through. They introduce you to Lucas, new guy, same town, like he just stepped out of your backyard. And guess what? This is the same city where ours has been running his shady little dungeon scam hustle. That vice captain flat out tells them their boss is nothing special, just another noble swimming in mansions, like he's got a whole portfolio. As he storms off, he's like, "Why is the Lord so fixated on a demon girl?" Because his gut says this whole excuse is total BS. Turns out the Pigsy Lord splurged a small fortune to grease the right palms with another noble, just to snatch Myra and drag her into slavery. And the soldiers who got ambushed weren't just some random guards, they were the Lord's own private troops. His vice captain is hoping a bandit survived so they can get a perfect lid, but Brandy cuts that idea off instantly. Because she wasn't on any main road, all they could do was guess she was lurking in the forest, or tucked away in some dungeon. The vice captain calls out that Brandy's searching the wrong way, away from Runefort, figuring she's about to bolt from the city even. After all that searching, they came back with nothing, absolutely nothing, and the vice captain couldn't stop laughing. Brandy's racing brain flips to the worst case. She's not just lost in the woods, she's already getting swallowed by monsters. Right then, a scout came sprinting in with breaking news, cutting off the vice captain's mid-sentence. "What if she's dead?" The scout gasps as he blurts out that their team actually uncovered something shocking. Brandy's completely. He tells them they've tracked down a bandit hideout hidden away on the side of a mountain. Brandy clenched his fist and finally locked onto a real lead on the bandits. He'd already circled bandit hideouts as one of the top options for where she could be. The official story claims skeletons wiped out the bandits. Yeah, that's a straight-up total lie. But in the end, the bandits weren't playing around. They grabbed Myra and dragged her straight back to their base. Brandy's head is spinning. This local dungeon is just an attraction. So why in the world aren't there any skeletons anywhere? They grilled every adventurer who came out of that dungeon, and not a single person could give them a clue. So he locks in the only answer he can. Myra didn't just vanish. She was hauled off to that bandit hideout. The only part that doesn't add up is why those bandits were left tied up right there by the road. Brandy's crew is fully geared up, and they're calling it. This squad is set to roll out right now. That smug vice captain demands the order, while Brandy stays silent, sizing up their next move in careful, deadly focus. So they decide, go smash the bandits instead, because taking on their boss is a nightmare they're not willing to risk. Back in our dungeon, another challenger gets taken out, face first in the dirt. A brand new adventurer freezes in shock at the potato golem, totally baffled. Like, what kind of twisted trap is this supposed to be? His partner, a hulking, burly beast of a man, erupts in roaring laughter at the kid's priceless face. This kid is totally wrecked with embarrassment. His teammate caught him looking like a complete mess. They spot 4 golems spilling into the fight at the same time, and that's when it hits them. Whoever's running this dungeon is terrifyingly, insanely powerful. That one-touch teleport ability is straight-up top-tier power, and this dungeon turns into a brutally tough gauntlet because of it. In the lobby, they straight up admit this was only the warm-up because the real dungeon is still a total mystery. At that exact moment, the room's door let out a slow, chilling creak. Then a brand new arrival stepped into view. And it's Bogart, the top high ranker from before, staring forward with pure determination, ready to try again. This rookie adventurer is stunned to the core when he realizes the legendary Bogart is back for round 2. From the control room, he's wondering if this is payback time, but Lionel shuts it down. Same outcome every time. Bogart just scratches his head, and for once, he looks downright sheepish about the whole mess. Then he whips around to face us and drops a deep, totally out-of-nowhere apology for his attitude. Our boy just stands there, stone still and quiet, not really buying this sudden little act of humility. Bogart straight up admits he was a total jerk. He got cocky after steamrolling those other dungeons so fast. Ours just slaps him with pure deadpan energy, and somehow it lands like the ultimate power move. This top-tier prodigy bites down on his pride and begs our group, "Just cooperate with me one more time, please." Ours just shrugged. I know. Stone cold, unmoved as the big guy begged and groveled. He makes it crystal clear. Teaming up with him gives Bogart, one of the top dogs, literally nothing at all. So yeah, with all that out of the way, he's basically pressing him for the whole point of it. Like, what's the real purpose here? But Bogart won't back down. He swears he's ready to cooperate, and finally forces us to admit him into the conversation. Our boy just stares right back, still trying to wrap his head around how the cuffy adventurer flipped on a dime. This battle-worn vet basically says we're the kind who takes on everything alone. Total lone wolf. And yeah, he even heard that nearly all our biggest wins were pulled off without a single party. Bogart leans in close and tells us, if you're a smart kid like the rest of us, you've got to see what's really going on in this dungeon already. None of his old experience or tried-and-true tactics are going to survive in this place. And that's why he keeps arguing, because our team needs someone with a totally different perspective if we're going to pull this off. Right as he's dropping his point, a second voice cuts in from the side. Hey, it is! The other adventurers who got smashed earlier were eavesdropping, and they heard the entire conversation clear as day. They snatch the opportunity and ask if they can jump into the party too, confessing they've always dreamed of teaming up with us. Someone even blurts out, "Hey, this dungeon is a total equalizer, so maybe we're finally useful for once." Everyone's caught off guard. Then we just grin, nodding along, while Bogart cracks up in the background like it's the funniest thing ever. So he makes it official. Everyone's teaming up, and they're going to hammer out a strategy together. Yeah, right now he's already plotting like, the second I figure out how to clear this mess, I'm gone. Quiet, low profile, no spotlight. Suddenly, some random new guy barges into his space, demands his name like they're already best friends. What a total charmer. The story snaps to a noisy tavern, where two other adventurers slam drinks back and bicker like their lives depend on. One of the blindfolded guys snaps at his partner, yelling that he'd have gone way farther if they weren't restraining him. Even with the blindfold on, this guy keeps screaming at his partner, until Lionel suddenly bursts in and yells at them to cut the fight out. Ours just deadpans that the adventurers have actually started holding strategy meetings. Wild, right? Turns out Ours traded some intel with him, but even with his help, nobody's been able to crack the second floor. Yet. And then this total weirdo with glasses prances in like he owns the place, screaming about his master's brand new dungeon. He instantly gets one-shotted by a potato golem. What a gloriously majestic entrance. Ours admits Luca's the new guy who pushed the furthest, right up until he chickened out. So Lionel says it's go time, and our crew instantly locks in, calm as ice, ready to strike. And just like that, the moment snaps to a hush. Night slips into a quiet forest. He's all confidence. He's sure he'll hit the first town before the day's even over. Lionel cuts in fast, reminding him that no carriages roll through this late, so they have to hit the road on foot. And he adds this, because the soldiers' digging paid off, the bandits won't be trouble anymore either. They just toss out a quick, yeah, and keep rolling down the road. R goes quiet like he's cracking a code, and he keeps a close eye on the time of day. Then he yawns like a monster, and without missing a beat, he tells his boss to take a right. A second later, he's already grumbling that his boss is getting way too far ahead of him. He plants his foot and fires off another sharp command. Curve to the right from here. His skeleton buddy blurts out, "Is the ground about to cave in?" And the guy I'm with shoots back, "Nope, he's leveling the earth so it won't." This kid goes, "It's the skill that hardens the ground so crazy. So tell me, does it work on the ceiling too?" Our boy nods and says, "That's exactly why the ground looks rock solid from up top." It all clicks when we watch him riding that cart and realizing one brutal truth. Out on a highway, non-stop traffic grinds the ground down to nothing. He explains that with ground leveling, you can carve out a perfectly smooth, mirror-like surface. His big master plan? He's going to pave the whole highway, turn every bump into slick, smooth asphalt. And this is just one piece of a much bigger scheme that's already kicking off an third dungeon. Because if you want real, lasting profit, you don't just chase hardcore adventurers, you pull in everyday people too. Which is why he treats road upkeep like a non-negotiable lifeline for his business empire. Better roads drew more travelers, and that pile of traffic meant his dungeon got hit with even tougher challengers. Once he's sure the area is safe, he'll slam down his third dungeon on them, timed to perfection like a total market genius. Lionel grins and points ahead. Turns out they're just a kilometer from town, and they've already hauled in perfect time. Crouching in his ground-level hideout, Ours grins and tells his skeleton buddy, "All right, you can head back now." And Lionel snaps it into a full-on horror movie jump scare, like the dark personally offended him. Yeah, imagine some kid popping out of a hole at night with a skeleton looking like it just crawled out of your worst nightmare. Ours is just relieved nobody caught sight of them, because if some random person noticed, they'd probably drop dead of shock. But then Lionel throws out a pose like a showman, flashing a reminder that we'd better be thankful for his personal GPS service. Ours grabs him and snaps, "Don't you dare put a single foot anywhere near the entrance we just came through." Now that the route is locked in as a straight shot from here, they're set to finish the job and won't stop. And boom, our boy flashes that insanely smug grin, like he's moments away from dropping his next huge move. He flings his hands wide, ready to unleash his signature road paving magic. With a dramatic flourish, he roars, "Ground leveling!" like a construction-themed superhero taking charge of the battlefield. He knows he can't pull it off in one shot, so he'll grind away at it bit by bit until it's done. With that, the two of them stride off into the night, leaving their freshly flattened path behind. Lionel can't even wrap his head around the magic. He's calling his boss's 1-kilometer road paving spell completely insane. But Ours just shrugs with a straight face and insists his magic is no big deal, way weaker than what real adventurers can pull off. He's hyping up these flashy spells like Giant's Iron Hammer. Apparently, they're a total game changer. That skeleton just smirks and tells you summoning him costs roughly the same MP as all those flashy spells, about 1,000 MP. Yeah, and that whole 1,000 megapixel idea is zooming straight past Lionel's empty head. Summoning monsters gulps up a monstrous amount of monodrain, and Lionel proves it by showing off a potato golem that strikes a pose like it means business. Our boy calls that kind of magic a complete waste, because it would just blast a skeleton to pieces in an instant. Meanwhile, Lionel kept flexing and arguing like crazy that he was the ultimate investment, because he'd work forever after just one summit. It instantly detonates into a full-on panic, like the whole world just tilted. Ours just breaks into a tiny, amused smile, while his skeleton's full-blown existential crisis spirals out of control. He tells him, "Don't worry," but then casually promises he'll keep him going until his bones grind to literal dust, like that's supposed to be comforting. Right then, Lionel suddenly pops up behind the weirdly flustered R and blares, "We're here!" And there they stand, staring straight at a towering building in the middle of a real-deal fantasy town. It's finally hitting him. He's actually standing in some town in a whole other world. From the black maw of that tunnel, Ars snaps away from the shadows and declares a skeletal ally will carry the next plan. With a dramatic flourish, he declares, "This is the town," and Lionel just nods along. Our boy slams his hands in the air like he just hit the jackpot, yelling that he finally made it. That quick burst of pure happiness fades instantly, and his face tightens as he spins back toward Lionel. They're sneaking a look into a pitch-black alleyway because, yep, they're still underground and the darkness is closing in. As the city streets come into view, one person is losing it, red-hot with rage. But who is it? Once the road work wraps up, Lionel leans in and asks whether our crew has anything left to handle in town. Ours just stares at him with dead-eyed exhaustion, totally unmoved by the question. Then he blows up in a fiery rant. He's demanding food, new clothes, and maybe, just maybe, a shot at falling in love like it's the most normal thing in the world. Lionel tries to steady him, realizing his boss is hitting full-blown teenage-level chaos. After a beat, Ours finally admits staying inside is okay, but you can tell he's not even a little happy about it. That's when Lionel's mind sparks. What if they just drill straight through the ground and pop right into the house? That poor kid is just a tiny blur right now, staring in stunned silence at the most unhinged idea anyone could have thrown at him. He's totally stunned because that thought never even crossed his mind. He can't believe the sheer audacity of it. He finally clocks it. There really are rooftops underground. They're just bolted onto houses he doesn't even own. So here's the wild part. Could you slip in from underneath and still call it breaking and entering? Deciding to put his theory to the test, R orders Lionel to scout for the perfect target. With a bright "let's go," the skeleton grins and scampers off, ready to pull off some harmless trespassing. Ours waits at the foot of the stairs, fidgeting like a nervous kid about to pull off his very first heist. Seconds later, Lionel's skull suddenly appears right beside a sleeping drunk, and the poor guy gets the scare of his life. Down underground, he's snapping out of control, ripping into Lionel like a total bonehead. Lionel nervously admits he couldn't really verify whether there was a house nearby. So he just snaps at him and tells him to get back up there and do the job right this time. Then we spot Lionel's skull jutting up out of the dirt, and even Ours can't help admitting, yeah, that's about as surreal as it gets. Leaning his head out of the hole, Lionel spots something wild just beyond the frame. He fires back that a major problem is right there, only 10 meters from where they stand. With the target right in reach, our crew hustles Lionel through the tunnel, itching to put his genius B&E theory to the test. He stops, points to the perfect spot, and decides they'll kick off their totally legal home invasion right here. With a wild grin, he declares it's go time for the experiment and slams a fist through the ceiling. But before he can even breathe, something slams into him and blasts him backward, sending him flying. So much for that plan. Totally stunned, he can't even process what just slammed into him so viciously. He slumps there, grumbling that it hit like a brutal rejection, one kind he's never faced before. Lionel just snaps. "Why are you throwing a tantrum?" Tells him to stop taking it out on him, like that classic employee feedback. Mars figures it out. This place is sealed by some kind of anti-magic field or barrier, keeping everything out. Then he tells Lionel to just try punching a hole through with his sword, but the blade skips off like it's hitting stone. After some serious effort, Lionel finally manages to jab a tiny hole through, and we're all stunned. Ours can't help but wonder, are they really asking for some kind of defense magic, or does this still count as trespassing? Lionel starts whining that he's an accomplice to the crime, and our guy snaps, "Shut it, and just go." Lionel bursts up out of the ground like a skeletal gopher, and you see it. Yeah, he really can escape the tunnel. So R instantly calls for a set rep. What's really going on up on the surface? Lionel snaps back that it's nothing but the cramped space beneath an ordinary floor, about 70 centimeters tall. And then, out of nowhere, a mouse scurries in. Ours delivers a deadpan, "I see," and doesn't even flinch at this game-changing intel. He lifts his hand and snap, everything clicks as a fresh idea lights up how this barrier actually works. It finally clicks. She didn't reject him for nothing, because a roof is still a roof, even when you're looking up at it from below. Once he finally gets it figured out, he wastes no time. he decides to go check it out himself. The moment his head bursts through the floorboards, something nasty greets him out of nowhere. Lionel sprawled on the floor, yelling for him to shut up, but his own skeleton just shuts him down, saying the loud one is him. Then Lionel beams and introduces his newest pal, a real, literal mouse he just dug out from under the floorboards. Our boy snaps instantly, shrieking that it's not cute at all and barking orders for him to get rid of the vermin. But Lionel, still clinging to optimism, shrugs and says they should just keep it as a pet. An absolutely awful idea. He swears that that filthy, germ-carrying rat is overflowing with charm, and we flat-out refuse to believe it. That little mouse even strikes a totally cutesy pose, making Lionel more convinced than ever that it's trying to charm us into its side. The argument erupts so hard that ours gets yeeted right out of the hole, and Lionel just calmly points out his boss's ridiculously loud volume. A voice suddenly booms from above, screaming for them to come out. Then panic slams into us as we assume the homeowner caught us red-handed. But nope, it's not some homeowner at all. It's two fuming, angry dudes who start pointing fingers and accusing them of sneaking into the Adventurers Guild. We're left totally stunned by how this all just spiraled. The Adventurers Guild finally catches on, and ice-cold sweat starts pouring down their face. Meanwhile, Lionel flashes a smug wink and a thumbs up, like a mastermind. Yeah, he totally planned this. This guy upstairs suddenly starts screaming to stab the intruders underground, and our crew loses it. Full-on, run-for-your-life meltdown. We snap to a wide view of the town, totally clueless as chaos erupts inside the guild. Then the whole scene snaps to a blazing daytime sky, and boom! Time and location instantly flip. Right out of nowhere, we're dropped into a dead, empty lecture hall. Totally different world. Instant shock. A brand new, simpler skeleton is chatting up a guy who looks way too much like our skeleton. Same face, but totally different clothes. Right beside her, a white-haired girl with horns huffs and pouts, yelling that they're bullying her, and she can't stand this room one bit. That our lookalike just glances at his watch, calmly declares the room hits exactly 22 degrees and 75% humidity. She snaps back that this isn't bullying, it's something else, but he just keeps listening, totally stone cold, like it doesn't even hit him. This horned girl, Melia, grumbles that her room is way too dark, and then the arse lookalike just smirks. So, is it bright enough? He points at her room and says it's the only one with the whole ceiling blazing, basically accusing her of being a total diva. He explains that his skeletons don't lift a finger. No furniture, no beds, no sleep, just a hardcore minimalist routine. One skeleton blurts out, "Come on, maybe Melia just wants a window for her room. And around here, that's a wild revolutionary idea." She agrees on the spot and blurts that she wants to know what time it is, then feel the wind hit her face. Her point totally lands. Just like that, both the skeleton and the one that's ours lock up for a second, looking weirdly thoughtful. Then Melia snaps that she hasn't stepped outside even once since she arrived, and yeah, that's a huge red flag. But the dude we finally learn is called Itsuo, slams her down with brutal force, then totally shuts the door on any kind of window. She's absolutely shattered by the rejection, and she can't help but demand, why is one simple window such a huge deal? She protests for a second, then just folds, cheeks blazing as she admits she gets it. But she sets one brutal rule. If she can't get a window, she'll move to a room miles away from him. Her face twists into pure confusion and burning frustration as she demands, "Why are you being so difficult?" Itsuo tells everyone that a window is basically just another doorway for invaders, so managing the risk is the only thing that matters. This snaps something in her, and she explodes, screaming that if she's not even family to him, then what is she supposed to be? He coldly shuts her down, says she's not that person, and then casually mentions he'll just slap teleportation traps down to get wherever he wants. Itsuo keeps on lecturing about dungeon security, breaking down how teleportation can be steered and controlled using relays. Milia snaps back, screaming that the distance matters, blasting the emotional gap between them like it's the only thing that counts. He just shrugs and brushes it off, saying the gap between their hearts hasn't been getting any smaller no matter what he tries. Her face just collapses in raw, full-blown frustration at how overwhelming his emotions are. Finally, she clenches her teeth, spits out his name under her breath. Itsuwa, utterly crushed. Itsu just keeps yelling "idiot" at Milia, while a nearby skeleton stays cool, watching like it knows the boss is officially furious. Then he explodes into a furious rant, saying he foots the bill for all her clothes, food, and furniture, and straight up demands whether she's got any consideration at all. Then a skeleton blurts out, "Wait, what if it's the other way around?" Meanwhile, a tiny Itsuwa in the background just stands there, completely clueless. The skeleton lays it out flat. Itsuo has zero clue about anything human. Basically, a stiff, emotionally stunted robot wearing a person. Right then, Itsuwa gets slammed with a blazing system notification, and boom, a whole new set of Labyrinth magic abilities unlocks. He's completely rattled, blurting to his skeletons that he just heard a voice, and they're standing there, staring him down like he's finally snapped. Then, bam, a cool girl in sunglasses barges into his mind. Chaos-chan, his imaginary daydream. And somehow, she shows up like she's totally normal. One of his skeletons leaps up in his face and roars that it's messed up he's hallucinating and paying imaginary friends to hang out with him. We get a fast tutorial, and boom, the dungeon's max MP starts climbing as it guzzles up stuff like hotel trash, fueling the whole eco-friendly world domination plan. Keo-chan, his imaginary buddy, demanded he rattle off every fresh labyrinth magic spell he'd just learned. He mumbles to himself, stunned. This new magic hits nothing like anything he's ever used before. A system menu suddenly blasts onto the screen, flashing options like Labyrinth Occupation and Labyrinth Alliance, and it looks way too much like the start of a game. Kachan fires off. "What's a Labyrinth Occupation?" And the system snaps back. It lets him seize the neighboring dungeons one by one. He blurts out right away, "Wait, so you're telling me I can just take the other dungeon master's stuff?" This system makes it crystal clear. It's not only dungeons. Any building owned by someone else is fair game for a hostile takeover. Then it all snaps into place. He suddenly flashes back to getting blasted out of the Adventurers Guild ceiling, and everything finally makes sense. The reason he got repelled was brutal, because that building wasn't theirs at all. It belonged to someone else entirely. A handy diagram spells it out. When he's the dungeon master, he's trapped inside his asterisk-owned asterisk dungeon, while Lionel can roam anywhere he wants. Another diagram blasts the truth. He can't step into the guild because that dungeon belongs to someone else, yet his secret tunnel underneath is totally his turf. Itsuo grips his cloak tight, sweat dripping down his face as the crushing truth hits. Labyrinth Occupation could be absolutely insane. Itsuo suddenly figures out he can link buildings through the underground, and he shoves it into a city-wide subway system that turns into nothing but petty crime. His mind instantly races through the wild possibilities. Free food, free clothes, and every sweet perk that comes with owning a whole town. He blurts out to Kao-chan all excited, "So, if I hook up to any asterisk dungeon, can I just take it over?" With a dead serious face, she tells him his hostile takeover dreams aren't just fantasies, they're actually possible. This system makes it clear costs shift with every target, so there's no such thing as a free win. It's one of those figures he'll just have to try himself. Classic pocket with a stick style. See how it really works in action. Then he brings up the Labyrinth Alliance option, and it reeks of straight-up diplomacy, way too suspicious to ignore. This feature lets dungeon masters drop into each other's games, trade functions freely, and only moves forward if they can actually agree on the terms. Our boy is absolutely not buying the idea of teaming up with anyone, ever. A cute little diagram breaks it down like this. Giving him access is the same as letting a neighbor into your home, and yeah, he's fighting that idea tooth and nail. He clenches his teeth, realizing everything he can use hangs on negotiation. His absolute least favorite thing. Suddenly, the scene snaps to Itsuwa in a cloak, staring down a demon that coldly warns her a second dungeon master is lurking nearby. With his loyal skeleton in tow, Itsuwa turns and hunts down some hard intel. He leans in and grills Lionel. Have you ever, for real, met another dungeon master out there in the wild? But Lionel just shrugs and mutters, Itsuwa's the first boss I've ever been summoned to face, which is about as useful as a wet match. Another skeleton tells him masters can be anything at all, from twisting black mist to full-on living creatures, yet it's so vague it's practically useless. Itsuwa finally grits his teeth and admits it. Sooner or later, he's going to have to square off with one of these rivals. With a heavy sigh, he steels himself and goes hunting for every last piece of information because he refuses to go in blind before that moment hits. Then he turns to Kao-chan and demands she break down the Labyrinth surrender option just in case things go sideways. She calls it the proper way to surrender your dungeon to the master right next door, the ultimate white flag. Itsuwa realizes surrendering doesn't mean give up. It means you torch the whole dungeon and just rage quit the moment the game ends. She tells you the cold truth. Your entire Labyrinth magic is gone, and you're officially kicked out and fired as the dungeon master. And the wild part? You don't even need the other guy's okay. Once you decide, it's unilateral and you're out. But somehow, our guy's left in this messed up headspace, like he's gonna have to barter and negotiate just to unlock the feature. A totally wild idea slams into him and he blurts, "Hold on, wait a minute, this?" Those system words crashed through his head. You're done being the dungeon master. And then it all snaps into place. If he isn't the master, does that mean he can finally escape the dungeon?